enough, this afternoon I was at a place, and the person was talking. He actually drives a minibus and a taxi, and he was saying that this weekend he's going to be out driving, and he's going to make sure that anybody gets in his taxi in evening time, especially, he will tell them up front, if you throw up in my car, I am going to stop. I'm going to call the police. I'm going to make sure that you pay $500, because what happens is once that takes place, you have to clean the vehicle and you have to leave it, give some proper time to air out. And that was one thing that made me smile this afternoon. They had no idea that I would be having this show this evening. But what's even more important, or what's even worse, I suppose, which was last week, I know it was Wednesday or Thursday. Last week, Wednesday or Thursday, sorry. I actually witnessed an accident. And the accident occurred. I won't call the actual names, and I don't know if the people who were involved are listening. But what happened is I was driving on the causeway. The ambulance was coming, heading west. So it was coming from the airport going towards Hamilton, I suppose you would say. And as it approached the corner, there was a car in front of me. I stopped. The car in front of me stopped. I stopped short. The car behind me stopped short. And then I heard bam. And I said, oh no, did somebody strike me? So I drove a little bit further. And then I drove on that little lay-by on the causeway. I drove in there. Another car came in, a bike came in. And we all got out. And what happened was the car behind me was fine, did not hit me. But the bike behind that car struck the car. Everybody got out. 2 females, one maybe 40, other maybe 30. And I was absolutely surprised at the level of absolute rage by one of those persons. Cursing, shouting, carrying on, the whole 9 yards, threatening the other person, the whole 9 yards, right? And then it took a little while. I'm smiling now. It took me maybe 20 minutes or so trying to calm him down and say, I could not say it's just a car. That would have made it much worse. But I had to just keep on going and trying to calm down and say, it's going to be okay. The car was not dented very much. And the person on the bike was not riding fast because they didn't fall off the bike. They hit the back of the car. They didn't fall off the bike, so they weren't going fast. And she was trying to explain the fact that I was riding. I had my brakes. I put my brakes on, but the bike could not stop based upon the fact that everybody had stopped short. But that did not stop the other driver. She was continued to be livid in terms of I need my car, cursing, threatening to hit the person, all kind of things. And I'm only saying all that to say that for me, the reality became also that guess what? People are under stress. And this just happened to be, in this person's case, the straw that broke the camel's back. The older person did explain after, that she's under stress. She explained what her issues are in life, sort of thing. But thankfully, was able to calm down a little bit and then just go through the process. I'm only saying all that to say that it is real in terms of what we're doing on the roads. The ad for this weekend spoke about the fact that in the 10 years from 2014 to 2015, 2024, there are 108 road deaths. 108. And my understanding is that many of those related to either speed or driving under influence. I did not try to say it's under drugs or alcohol, but many of them were under the influence of alcohol and speed. And so tonight I'm very thankful we have this conversation, because I've also said in the past now that we seem to have gotten to a stage whereby, guess what? Everybody, or most people, want to go as fast as possible. And I said it before, old, young, black, white, rich, poor, Bermuda, non-Bermuda, everybody, male, female, whole 9 yards, and we have to try to arrest that. Unfortunately, people are popping wheelers for long distances. We have the e-bikes now that people ride at high speed with no identification whatsoever, no way of tracking who it is. Persons overtaking at very high speeds and cutting off in front of you, and then sometimes spinning around the middle of the road. And so all these things taking place. And what we want to do is try our best tonight to add some value to the conversation in terms of what can we really do to arrest this I want to call it a culture of speed. And of course, the song out now, Bermudians Love to Drink, it's a nice song. It's unfortunate, almost an unfortunate reality, because that is true. Many people go out intending to drink, intending to sometimes get drunk, but not having that last piece in terms of making sure they don't drink and drive. And so let's have a conversation. We have lots of guests in the house tonight. I'm going to let them all introduce themselves, and we'll start with Acting Chief Inspector Anthony Smith.
Good evening, all. How you doing? I'm glad to be on the show for tonight.
And who are you? Give me some background.
All right.
That's not a shout out. Give me some background.
As you stated, Acting Chief Inspector, Bermuda Police Service, currently one of the officers in charge of the Tactical Operation Division. which is the division that oversees our road policing unit, our armed response unit, our police support unit, gang target unit, and K9.
Wow, that's a lot. Say it again a little bit slower there.
Many hats.
Yeah.
Very versatile. But yeah, we're pretty much, some of my colleagues don't like it, but we're pretty much the backbone of the Bermuda Police Service. You call us, we'll pretty much go anywhere.
But it's roads, you said, right?
Roads.
Slow down. Roads, keep going.
Armed response.
Armed response.
Police support unit.
Police support unit.
Yep.
Keep going.
As well as our K9 unit.
And K9, okay.
So pretty much we branch out throughout the whole island. We patrol anywhere and anywhere at any given time.
I'm going to come back to you in a minute because I definitely don't know what this police support thing is. And I'm going to ask the questions about that in a minute. Mr. Roberts?
Good evening, everybody. Glad to be on the show. My name is Altonio Roberts. I am the current chair of the Bermuda Road Safety Council. The Bermuda Road Safety Council is appointed by the Ministry of Transport, and we support the Ministry of Transport in all things community education and making recommendations for our roads in Bermuda. We push road safety.
Sorry. And I apologize to the listening audience. I did not hit the go live, and so you might have missed on the Facebook, you missed the first couple of minutes. You could hear us, but you could not see us. But now we are live, and yep, here we go.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anthony Santucci. I'm the Executive Director of CATA, Encouraging Responsible Alcohol Behavior.
So I'm going to come back to you now. And come back to you, Mr. Santucci, in terms of encouraging responsible alcohol behavior, which for me is a contradiction, but we'll get to that in a minute. Responsible.
If you're a temperance person, it certainly is.
Alcohol behavior. All right, no problem. We'll see how that works out. So back to Mr. Smith. You gave us, I think, a mouthful in terms of what you do. I think it's interesting in terms of how those aspects are actually tied together. The roads, armed response, police support unit, and K9. Can you elaborate a little bit more to start off with what the police support unit is?
The police support unit is predominantly, we might know as our riot team.
Oh, okay.
But pretty much right now, due to our staffing, we've collapsed our roads policing team and our police support team, and they all come underneath one team. And you probably heard in the news feeds Operation Sentinel. So now those are the two primary teams that actually do all the enforcement. That'd be antisocial behavior as well as address our driving habits.
And I guess I would say, but that seems a bit awkward, I guess, in terms of the two responsibilities. But
I wouldn't say it's awkward. It's
unusual. Let's put it that way.
Well, right now, it's just a strategy that the Bermuda Police Service has come up with, and with combining those two teams together, we also have an increase of our motorbikes as well as our vehicles, and as well as supported by our K9. So obviously, going into the cut match period, you're going to see a lot of stop and searches alongside the streets as well as roadside sobriety. As part of those initiatives that are taking place, you're going to have persons from those divisions, the armed response unit, road policing, police support unit, and K9 working together in those initiatives throughout the island, as well as during the cut match.
So, for example, rather than have, say, 4 teams of 2, you can have 2 teams of 4, whatever it is now.
Correct, it's bolstered. So the teams would average, on a good day, average up to 12 persons dedicated. So pretty much anything that comes across the board, calls of service, is any other division, such as our investigations division or our community policing division need assistance in any area, then those teams and units could actually assist with what they need, plus take on separate initiatives as well.
So if you ask the question now, if there's an incident anywhere on the island, that team of 12 or combination of them would respond?
Not all 12's on at the same time, but we do have a 24-hour armed response, which falls underneath the division as well. They are on 24 hours a day, and they will respond where need be.
Oh, and you are acting chief inspector, meaning that you are right now the person in charge of this division?
My supervisor is Superintendent Glassford, Arthur Glassford, and then underneath that, there's 2 inspectors. So right now I'm pretty much the connection in between our senior leadership and the division.
Okay, all right. I'm going to come back to you for sure. That's a lot to ask for. So, Mr. Roberts, what's happening with you in terms of, not you, but the Road Safety Council? I remember before you was on a couple of weeks ago, and there's an initiative in the UK, I forget what it's called, they're about like zero something, is it?
Yeah, so one of the initiatives that in the UK they have started is a zero fatality in
Right.
one of the, I'll say, for lack of better words, one of the cities, and they are pushing for zero fatalities. I don't know where they are now on that, but they are working towards, decreasing fatalities on the roads in the area of the UK.
And how, or is that at all being piggybacked in Bermuda, or
We are watching some of their campaigns and some of the initiatives that they are doing, and seeing how we can implement some of those initiatives here in Bermuda. We have a team that will be traveling out there to do some studying on the UK and how they enforce and how the road safety teams work to kind of bring some of those things back to Bermuda. So we are watching them very closely and trying to adopt some of the things that they have in the UK. We have some of the same issues here in Bermuda. So because there are a larger larger country, we can take some of those things that they have adopted and try to adopt them here in Bermuda.
And can you talk a little bit more in terms of, well, either of you can do it, I guess, in terms of the history of fatalities in Bermuda, to bring that more into focus, what the reality of it is, please?
So the history in regards to the amounts of fatalities.
Yes.
This year we have, I believe, we have increased. At this point, last year I think we were like one fatality a month, roughly. This year we're past that in the first 7 months of the year. Previous, it's very interesting to say this next statement. We're past the normal, the normal in regards to fatalities this year. But in my opinion, any life lost is detrimental. So just one life, is terrible. So one of the things that we are pushing is, like you said earlier, it's a cultural thing, right? We as a culture, we like to have fun, we like to party. And, I don't want to say that, every accident or every road fatality comes from intoxicated driving or anything like that, because there's more to it than just drinking. That seems to be the most things that people do. But when you look at the accidents, when you look at the collisions that are around, is not just from drinking and driving. A lot of it is distracted driving that we see on the roads. So we put a lot of focus on drinking and driving, but it's more than just drinking and driving.
And that's an interesting comment, because, myself included, would be most accidents are taking place because of people speeding or being under influence. What are the types of things when you refer to being distracted? What does that mean?
Anything that takes your head, takes your mind off of the road, takes your focus off the road. So texting and driving is one of the biggest things that we see here. Inspector Anthony might be able to speak to more of the things that they see on a day-to-day basis. But you think of the accidents that are happening in the daytime, the last couple of weeks. I think most of them have become from distracted driving.
And if you can't speak to that, because one thing that what is unfortunate, I guess, is there have been many, many more cars overturning. And the comments on social media is always a joke. People make a joke about it, what's going on. But is there any evidence or any comment in terms of what's causing these things, causing these cars especially to be turning over?
For the vehicles that turn over when there's no signs of impairment, it's due to carelessness and dangerous driving. So as Antonio said, we have persons that are texting, persons that are looking at, other things in the car, such as the children, or trying to change the radio station was one. And most of it is pretty much looking at their cell phones. They get distracted, and before you know it, it's either a vehicle coming out coming into the junction, you have to swerve, or you've come up to the vehicle in front of you and you collided the vehicle, etc. So the main thing is also carelessness.
Well, and I guess the question then becomes, it seems we talk about culturally people drinking a lot now. Everybody's on the phone while they're driving. But I don't know.
Sorry, Anthony, just a point of clarity.
Sure.
It isn't everybody drinking a lot now. Just from a historical perspective, we've always drank a lot.
I'll come to you in a minute.
No, but I just want to correct you. Say it looks like people are drinking a lot. No, that's absolutely not the case.
That's fine. We'll come to you in a second.
Okay.
One quick second. My comment though is that nowadays it seems like everybody's on their phones, and I was asking, the next question was going to be, is there any targeted enforcement of people using cell phones while they're operating a vehicle?
Yeah, we do issue moving violation tickets for handheld devices. So if you're seen utilizing your phone while it's operating a motor vehicle, you could be ticketed and summoned to the magistrate's court.
I mean, I know there's a law, but does it actually happen? Because I see everybody driving, and that's saying nobody's getting a ticket.
When we're able to, we do enforce it.
And when you're able to, meaning that there's obviously lots of other things to do?
That's correct. For example, day-to-day calls of service. You see when there's a collision, it takes units off the roads, as well as we're assisting other lines of investigations as well that have to also take place.
Mm-hmm. And that's a quick question in terms of, by the way, I must confess, I was a policeman a long time ago, by the way, I qualified a long time ago. And the point that it takes is that people don't realize that one accident can cause 2 or 3 officers to be off duty, quote unquote, or off of their normal duties for a period of time while they go through, interview people, do up reports, go to court, all that kind of thing.
Well, not only that, the initial stages of the accident would be dealing with the accident itself. Mm-hmm. So if an accident occurs, then we have to either you got to obviously look for safety of life. So that's going to take a minute. We allow all the other emergency services to come through as well. On top of that is traffic diversions. Mm-hmm. So obviously we use one that happened this week where we had an accident, the car that flipped over on South Road. Mm-hmm. Just look at how many roads have to be covered to divert traffic away from it, to also people don't come to a standstill. So that takes a lot of resources away from us.
Okay, gotcha. No, sorry.
Sorry, I just want to make a comment. I had the opportunity to do a ride-along with Inspector Smith from Drunk Carnival. And one of the things that we used to say a lot, and I changed my statement, is that the police need to do their job, right? And having the opportunity to be in that ride-along was very much of an eye-opener to me in regards to how resources can quickly be, shifted at any moment. I think in the first maybe hour or hour and a half, they were doing like a stop and search, and I think it was like picking up people with warrants, stuff like that. And every time they had to deal with someone, that's like 2 officers or 3 officers that has to go and deal with that particular situation. Mm-hmm. So it's very interesting to see how the operation moves, and can they do with more resources? Definitely, but each situation, either be an accident, either be a stop and search, either be, even, violence, that takes, our resources that we have, for patrolling to deal with these particular situations.
Gotcha, okay. Now let's come to Mr. Santucci for a minute.
I suppose the question for the acting chief inspector is then, do we have enough resources? I mean, there are about 400 of you guys out there, no pun intended. 380? 350?
You're getting close.
Okay. There's 350 of you out there, and clearly road management, I'm going to call it that, is significantly important. And how many more do you need to accomplish that task? But to your point, Bermuda averages 12 road fatalities a year. Averages. Of the average, 74% of them have alcohol and/or drugs in the system.
Okay.
I can't give you, and none of us can give you stats on crashes. I'm not even going to call them an accident, because if they're on your phone, it's not an accident.
The collisions.
A collision.
Yeah.
Because we don't gather that data about collisions, nor do we gather data on collisions that happen and that the police don't attend.
Right.
So we don't. So what we gather data on is, in terms of collisions, only those ones that we actually attend. Mm-hmm. And fatalities, obviously, are fatalities.
Gotcha. I'm smiling again. And to the listening audience, it's a friendly conversation for sure. And I'm going to remind Mr. Santucci that he's the guest, not the host, going to be asking questions. In any event, you commented earlier on my statement in terms of people drinking more, everybody drinking. I didn't quite say that, but that's what your comment was. But before you get to that, talk to me some more in terms of, you said responsible alcohol use.
Now that in itself sounds like an oxymoron.
Correct.
Quite honestly, there was article put out last week, quite frankly, that talked about the inconsistency of the concept of a responsible alcohol consumer. And what does that look like? And it varies from North America being kind of the United States and South America and the Caribbean and Europe, not talking about Asia and other countries. How we at CARTA perceive responsible alcohol consumption is that if I'm going to drink and I'm going out, that I put a plan in place to get home safely.
Okay.
That's how we perceive that we know that it's important that you don't give a child that's under 18 alcohol because it affects the development of their brain. And so when we talk about responsible, have that discussion from that perspective. We, as a community in the 1800s, had a lot of stuff going on relative to temperance and alcohol consumption. Because, as I say, we've drank alcohol like bandits from day one. Quite frankly, when the first governor announced he was leaving, well, the whole island shut down for 2 months to have a party. Because other than they were happy he was going, they just drank for 2 months. Sounds funny, but absolutely true.
Yeah.
And, so we have a legacy of alcohol consumption and production. The 1892 Spirits Act actually stopped local production of alcohol. Prior to that, alcohol was produced readily on the island, and then we went specifically to importing alcohol. So we have decades, centuries of alcohol production and consumption, and we just have a really bad relationship with it. It's like a bad marriage. We know we have it. We know we shouldn't have it. What are we going to do to get out of it? And that's really the key, and that's what we as a community in the country have been struggling with for a long, long time, whether it's road fatalities, whether it's cancer. Women that consume more than 2 drinks a day increase their chances of getting breast cancer by 20%.
Oh, okay.
Lots of good data about. So is having more than 2 drinks a day on average difficult? Quite honestly, no. You go out on Friday and Saturday, you might just hit that 14th drink mark real easily.
Okay.
So it's about education, communication, getting the word out there, and really changing behaviors. We like to say that during or just prior to COVID, we had the Let Us Drive program, and where every Friday night we took people home that were drunk. And we took over 20,000 people home.
Well,
during that period.
Not all drunk, just...
pretty much. We used to have cabs parked up on Reed Street. The drunkards would come up. I'm sure there were varying degrees of intoxication.
Yeah, okay, fine, yeah.
What's drunk?
Yeah.
Legally or falling down? So obviously there are varying degrees of intoxication. And that was a good thing. So we like to think for that 10-year period that we ran that program, that started some cultural change because people had an alternative at 3 in the morning, so they got on those cabs and went home for free. And just one point that me and the cab drivers and you will argue about this all the time. We took over 20,000 people home. Not once did anybody go to Europe in the car.
Good. I was going to ask a question in terms of, let's back up then, in terms of what is the objective or the objective of CARTA?
The CARTA does 2 programs. We do informational programs, which is what we do here, and on social media, and we conduct the training intervention program, which is a program geared towards servers and sellers of alcohol to look for the dangers and signs of consumption and to give people skills to determine those relative behavior cues so that they don't serve people that are drunk.
So obviously, but you would then, CARTA is behind your program whereby all bartenders have to be properly trained?
The law says that owners and managers of bartenders have to be tip certified.
Right.
Okay. The practical aspect of that is that all bartenders are, because most owners and operators aren't always on site.
Yeah.
And you can. The law says that if you're not on site, you can't serve alcohol. So if I'm the owner of XYZ bar and I go to wherever, then I stop serving alcohol. That's not practical.
Right.
So the bartenders are the ones that actually get trained.
All right, yeah, got understood. So,
and when you know what the law says, because I don't want you to think that the law says that bartenders are. In North America, anybody server would be a waiter, bartender, everybody gets certified. In Bermuda, this is how it sort of worked its way out.
So just to clarify, in Bermuda, all bartenders are intended or required to be tip certified?
No, again.
Clarify that, please.
Okay. The law says that all owners and operators of bars
Yes.
have to be tip certified.
Yes.
And so owners and operators of bars certify their bartenders. That's customarily who actually gets certified.
Okay. And that's important for the show, especially in terms of making sure we understand what's legal versus what's operational.
That's
and
right.
So,
Look, I'll give you. I'm just right on that point.
Sure.
I'll give you another a fairly even easy. So, if you're having a party, let's call it one of these caravan parties. What do you call that? Circle parties up and down the street. Now, the magistrate, the former magistrate, maybe it's not anymore, put in a policy that has been adopted by the liquor licensing authority that for every 75 persons you're intending to have at a party that isn't a bar or a club, you have to have one tip certified person. So that's really the only alternative there.
okay. So, for example, when they're having like the next couple of weekends, right?
There's a big party, I think, I know, it's on Wednesday night in Somerset at Snooker Park, massive party.
So that means Snooker Park will be required to have, let's say,
the
owner.
Tico promoter, Tico's going to have 3,000 people, and Tico will have 40 tip certified bartenders.
Wow. Okay. And again,
On the other side of that, he'll also have 60 security guards, because the policy is 50. For each 50 persons, one security guard. For each 75 persons, one tips person.
And to listen, that's interesting, because a lot of times we think, okay, fine, have this event, and people don't think about the cost of doing so. And clearly, if you have that many people to provide what I want to call support, that's going to add to the cost of having the event. It doesn't stop the event, of course, but that then adds to, from my point of view, the financial point of view now is going to be, why are tickets so expensive? It's because you have to do all these extra things to make sure the event can take place beyond the entertainment and those kind of things, just as a throw in there. So to go back to what I said originally, in terms of the tip certification, the law requires the owner to be tip certified.
Owners and managers.
And then by extension, because I'm an owner and you're the manager, but both can be absent or it's going to be too many people there, we would then say, okay, fine, let's make sure that the bartenders themselves are tip certified. And then the tips, what is the tip certification?
Training intervention procedures. It teaches you about behavior cues, interaction rates between drugs and alcohol. How long does it take your body to absorb alcohol? It teaches you all that sort of stuff.
And then
so for an example, it takes all of our buddies, all of us, 4 of us here, we're all different guys, different sizes. Our liver can only clean, for lack of a better word, 3/4 of an ounce of alcohol an hour. We in Bermuda serve an ounce and a quarter. So what that says is, if I have a drink, which is an ounce and a quarter, only half of that will actually be cleaned in my system within an hour. It is also very common in Bermuda to have a beer and a shot. Very common drink to have. That may have a shot and a beer. You hit your shot, you drink your beer. Well, guess what? Then all of a sudden you have 2.5 ounces of alcohol. 4 ounces or 4 drinks, and the average drink in the normal world is an ounce. And remember, Bermuda's an ounce and a quarter take you over the limit. So 4 drinks will take you to 0.1. And the legal limit in Bermuda is 0.08. So if you're having a shot and a beer, and then a shot and a beer, voila.
And that's interesting, for me, and I guess some of our listeners would not understand, would not have known this prior to today. It means then, well, I'm asking a question, I suppose any of you know, that 4 drinks of whatever combination, generally speaking, might get you over the limit.
Really?
And then what does tips do? Tips says, okay, fine, don't serve you anymore?
I'm the guy that's serving you that, and I have to try to manage your consumption. Knowing that 4 drinks is going to get you over the limit. Knowing that we all have different body masses. I don't know if you're on meds or any other interaction with the alcohol. So, and understanding that only a quarter of that's going to be gone in an hour. So the associates of the bartender actually learn those things.
Well, I'm going to come back to that because that's interesting, because I'm going to drink as much as I like. And how are you going to stop me from drinking that much? And how do you manage?
It's not about stopping you from drinking. It's about drinking responsibly. And if you get to the point where you've had too much, then the law holds me accountable as well for if I go down the road and get in a crash. I'm not absolved from that responsibility. Not the owners, bartenders, managers. They're all responsible if I go down the road and get in a crash, and then I decide to bring a civil suit. We're all responsible.
Well, And I don't know who can answer that question. So how often does that take place? Because I would be, well, just ask the question, which is, how often does it take place whereby there's an accident and then someone gets sued civilly and they get drawn into, the owner or managers get drawn into it?
I think the investigation in that, I mean, Anthony's the best person to answer that, but I think to investigate, exactly where people, exactly at what point did they reach a limit is kind of hard. Bermudians tend to be bar hoppers, and they go from one bar to the next, to the next, to the next. So I would say that the investigation, that would be very difficult, but I guess the inspector could give more relevance to that.
Yeah, it will be pretty much a trail. So, as saying, some also security staff are tip certified as well, because once you welcome a person into your establishment, they're providing you a service. So, pretty much they could deny you service based on if they believe that you're intoxicated. So, there's nothing that they could keep or they're obligated to serve you. They could stop serving you. They could prevent you from even coming into into your establishment, as some of our local front street establishments have security at the front door. If you don't, your ID, obviously you don't have the ID after certain hours, as well as if you're too impaired, they won't even allow you into the establishment.
And the ID is that I have to have an actual ID after what?
It's best to have ID on you all the time.
An ID meaning that's just
identification, passport, driver's license.
What I mean, but is it to identify who I am, or just
your
the fact? And so, is it now mandatory that after now everybody has to be quote unquote carded, or no?
The establishment can be held accountable for serving minors. If police do come in and do a liquor license check and find a juvenile or a person under the age of 18 consuming alcohol in their establishment.
And that's interesting again. So how often does those type of things take place?
We do liquor license checks every week. Officers actually go into the establishment and ensuring that they're compliant with the liquor license.
And so you walk into an establishment, I look young, and you checked me you asked me for an ID, I guess.
No, any police officer doesn't have to have any permission from any rank, could go into an establishment and conduct a liquor license check. And part of that, if they believe that somebody is underage, they can question them.
So on a given night, any police officer on a pure random basis can do a
liquor license check.
Oh, and how often does that take place?
Happens every weekend.
By random officers?
Random officers stop the car, let's go into this establishment, they'll go in, they'll speak to the security, they'll speak to the manager, ask how many people are smart serving, going back to Ontario, are tip certified, and that would be actually entered into our system and recorded.
And you want that.
What?
You want that.
Yeah, and to be honest,
create that air of discipline.
Yeah,
frankly.
And so that does lead me to, I'm not sure right now, but the whole idea of the sobriety checkpoints. I'll ask almost an obvious question, which is, from either of you now, what is the point of announcing sobriety checkpoint is going to take place in Paget, which is going to cause me to, what's the point of that?
Well, I'll start because this was a CADA initiative back in the day.
Yes.
Where we had sobriety checkpoints, and it was important to us to have sobriety checkpoints. And one of the arguments that we heard before we had them and we hear now is, why announce them? Well, it really depends on what your goals and objectives are. And CADA's goals and objective is to change people's relationship with alcohol. And if you, by announcing them, you encourage people to plan and create other means to get him safely. So from our perspective, announcing sobriety checkpoints isn't a punitive thing. It's creating that air that, by the way, there's sobriety checkpoints. We need to make sure we get home safely. If we're going out, let's make sure with a number. Who's going to be the designated driver? Do we have a cab driver's number? How are we going to get him safely? Because they got sobriety checkpoints. And from our perspective, that's the motivation behind sobriety checkpoints. Other people have different perspectives.
Yes.
They're strictly, most people that don't want them announced are thinking from a strictly punitive perspective. We're thinking from a cultural perspective and how do we change people's behaviors, because punitive results aren't going to always allow us to achieve what we want to achieve. We need people to stop doing it, not just catching them and taking them to court.
And first of all, how often do you explain that? And with that also, how effective is it? Because again, from my question, right, it's almost counterintuitive, the fact that I'm going to announce a sobriety checkpoint.
Disagree.
Beg pardon?
I disagree.
No, fine. I'm saying, but how often do you explain that?
We explain that on a fairly consistent basis. I mean, I personally am on many different forums having these conversations on a regular basis. But we understand so that people would like it not to be announced, and we understood clearly that this wasn't. It isn't designed to be punitive. It is designed to change behaviors.
Okay. And before I come to you in terms of the effectiveness to Acting Chief Inspector, are you able to comment from Carter's point of view on whether or not there has been a change in behavior as a result of the sobriety checkpoints?
No, I can't give you something that's not measurable. So I can only give you measurable results. When we say we took home 20,000 people, how they go? Did that change some behavior? Yeah, but we don't do that anymore. But I can't say people's behaviors have changed. But the fact I would like to think it's changed, but the numbers don't necessarily speak to relative to road fatality, so that's still consistent.
I think you're saying that the free ride has stopped?
Yes, they have.
Why?
There was just the resources became when we went into COVID. The resources were unavailable again, obviously during COVID, and quite honestly, the number of bars that are open post-COVID are completely different from the number of bars or establishments that are open late nights after COVID.
Meaning more or less?
Considerably less.
Is it?
Yeah.
So there are.
You haven't been out in a while, huh?
No, I don't drink. I guess, but
front yard.
So just
the terrace,
right?
So just else out there late nights.
If you can do on a summary number, how many bars are there open now?
Late night
establishments compared to before.
If you look at
a lot less, or
if you look at Front Street, just look at Front Street by itself. You got 1, 2, 3, 4 maybe on Front Street. Versus pre-COVID, you probably had about maybe double that on Front Street. So yeah.
And I note the comment in terms of the definition of being a late night establishment. What is that as opposed to a bar?
No, I see front yard is probably what you would call that's a late night establishment in my mind. I don't necessarily call that a club.
Okay.
Okay, we're there. Do we have any clubs in town?
Oh, I see. You said, okay.
I remember when you were young, when there was Disco 40 and all those places, those were clubs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whereas Front Yard is a restaurant club that you can eat until 2 and 2:30 in the morning, as well as have a good time. That isn't a Disco 40 type
of establishment. Okay,
understood. Like, what was that one that we had down in the mall? The Beijing.
Yes, I got you.
That doesn't exist anymore.
Okay. Yeah. So and for the listening audience then, is to clarify the fact that it's not necessarily about a bar, it's just a late night establishment that serves alcohol.
That's why I differentiate that way, yes.
Okay, gotcha. Right.
I mean, I don't know if Cosmopolitan is open again, but there used to be one up there.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. I don't think it's open again.
Yeah.
They may have a license, but I think they're actually officially not open.
Yeah.
Okay. To listen once again, thank you for joining us here on Magic 102.7 your Sunday evening. Our guest this evening is Mr. Anthony Smith, who is the Acting Chief Inspector of a lot of divisions in the police department. Mr. Antonio Roberts, who is the Chairman of the Road Safety Council, and Mr. Anthony Santucci, who is the Executive Director of CARTA, yes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. That's our conversation tonight. I'm talking road safety. And I made one comment because part of the rationale for tonight's conversation is I witnessed road rage, as I said last week, whether it was last week, Wednesday or Thursday, but road rage for sure, when there was an accident. And from that, I was completely surprised at the level of rage that came with that in terms of threatening violence, calling people names, and it just very fast, very quickly rather, deteriorated. And thankfully, me and somebody else was there, and we was able to, I think, manage it. And I have been staying in contact with them afterwards to try to see how it goes. But ultimately, it was one of those incidents whereby the police did not attend because there was minor damage to the car. And they were able to ultimately exchange information, report it to the insurance company, and hopefully get everything resolved. And thankfully, also in this instance, they were both insured at the same company. So that made, hopefully make things a lot easier. But again, for me, it was just to be there in the moment and to see the absolute rage. And in my mind, the fact that the older person ultimately caused the young person to be afraid, like frightened them, like beyond the physical piece. And so hopefully there is not going to be any long-term impact from that. And, Anthony, hopefully get to a point whereby they actually reconcile at some point, because it was outrageous in my mind, and
so
I know one of them.
Was they drunk?
No.
Okay.
No, and no, because it was in the afternoon time. It was around about. Doesn't matter. People drink all times of day, but it was daytime, like maybe
There were no obvious
2 or 3.
signs of intoxication.
No, actually, there was no intoxication because I know that they were not intoxicated.
that's right.
And so anyway, but let's come back to yourselves in terms of from the police perspective. Is there a value in announcing in advance where you're going to have the sobriety checkpoints?
Even when the roadside sobriety is gazetted and announced, we still actually intercept people underneath the impairment. Just for this weekend, we had no roadside sobriety, but as of the last 48 hours, we've arrested 8 persons for driving while it's impaired.
And I guess, which may sound a very basic question, but what is driving under impaired?
Well, impairment could be either illegal narcotics, prescription drugs, you got your recreational drugs as well, anything from simple thing as NyQuil, as well as if you go into King Edward Memorial and you're discharged and they've given you some type of medication that makes you drowsy or numb in any way or form.
Oh, and how do you test if I'm just driving, right? How do you test for impairment except for alcohol? Are there other roadside tests for other forms of impairment?
It's alcohol or drug. So to test for alcohol, we demand samples of breath. For drugs, we demand samples of blood. Obviously, these samples will be demanded if they see signs of impairment or things we would suggest based on your driving manner that caused a collision, or we have witnesses or other accounts that state that you were either swerving, you're unstable on your feet, etc. And like I said, there is an offense to not comply with that sample, that demand for breath or blood. That comes in par with if we do take samples from you, you exceeded the legal limit, then you could get another offense. So that's 2 offenses.
And what is the process in terms of, so I'm swerving on the road, you stop me, I guess you ask for a breath sample first of all, which I pass.
The reasonable and probable cause would be the officer will observe your manner of driving. The reason why they'll stop you would be, I observed your car sway across the line numerous amount of times. Asked you to get out the vehicle, you was unstable on your feet, your speech was slurred, your eyes were glossy. Now we have narcotics these days, which sometimes are odorless. So obviously if the officer finds or sees any drug paraphernalia within the car, let it be a syringe, let it be a wrapper, or any type of residue that they believe is a narcotic, they could also demand samples of blood for that.
And suppose, again, these may be some very basic questions, but I'm just tired. And that's where, of course, because I'm sleeping.
Yep, you can also be ticketed for that and for the courts, because getting behind the wheel while you're fatigued in any way is just as bad as being impaired.
And how do you separate that? I don't know if it's possible. How do you separate, I'm swerving because I'm sleepy, and you stop me, breathalyze, I pass that. Do you then suspect, okay, fine, I get a blood sample? Do you go through all those steps? Like, how do you get to a point where, okay, let's be reasonable, I'm tired, I'm going home.
During roadside sobriety, we do have our breathalyzers, which would detect alcohol in your breath. So that can be brought out into the field as well and utilized prior to taking you to the station if you do believe that you're in excess of alcohol. We have had fatals in the past where the person has not been impaired.
Right, remember that one.
All right, so therefore it would be a different offense.
Okay.
If the person stated that they were fatigued, quote unquote, then is another offense.
Oh, and last question in that regard is, what is the actual process for getting a blood sample? Who takes my blood?
The blood sample will be a certified doctor, and they would take 3 vials from you, and that would be processed at the government analysis.
And so when you're doing your sobriety checkpoints on whatever Friday night or whatever day you do it, there's a doctor assigned to the group, or how does that work?
We have on-call doctor, and that doctor gets called out at any given notice.
Man. And then if I get arrested, it's in jail until Monday morning?
The best word to put into you're clear-headed, because the worst thing we want to do is take somebody that's impaired and ask them a whole bunch of questions. So therefore, we'll ask those questions. We'll keep you until you're quote unquote sober, and we'll put questions to you. And if you do need to sign any type of documents for your release, then you sign that. Not to say we're just going to kick you to the curb and you wake up in the morning with a piece of paper in your pocket saying I was arrested last night. No, so we keep you until we actually believe that you're
okay. So I stay in your custody until it wears off, I want to say, and I can answer you sensibly, and then good to go.
Correct.
Okay. So let's be more practical now. As I said, And you know, some.
Drink and drive, guy.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, it seems like there is so much of an inconvenience if you get stopped, arrested, or otherwise that people listen, but they are not listening. Well, that's not true. Let me ask a different question, which is, so based upon your role and your experience as a police officer, are you seeing less people being arrested for under the influence, or more, or what's the trend?
Most people I see, I wouldn't say, let's say, arrested for impairment. It would all depend on what social activities are going on, pretty much the island. Like, for example, during COVID, our impairments went because nobody was really in the road during nighttime.
Okay.
Going into weekends, usually we find our driving while impaired will peak, and during holiday periods.
And so this weekend, which is, I think, is a part of a concert level on Wednesday night, there's cut match on Thursday and Friday. There is a concert on Friday, I believe, and then there is something on Saturday. Let's say there are 5 days, right?
Straight on through.
And the whole part of thing, and so
all the way up until non-Mariners Sunday.
Right, I forgot. Oh my goodness, I forgot non-Mariners. And so, oh my dear. So really, as best you can, right? What is the advice, and what is the plan to try to minimize as best you can, as best we can, the undue impact of alcohol or drug use for the weekend? What's real?
Hopping on Carter, if you do want to engage in recreational drugs and or alcohol, do it wisely.
Again,
starting from Wednesday night all the way to Monday morning, we'll be conducting roadside sobriety. That's been gazetted, and we'll have special allocated teams, units that's under the Tactical Division, out anywhere from first thing in the morning. We'll be out way first bowl, and we'll be out when people are going home. So pretty much it's almost a 24-hour response. There will be increased police presence. So you'll definitely see that type of style and tone coming from Wednesday night. You're going to see a heavy police presence dealing with adverse or bad drivers.
And so now if you think about Bermuda, cop matches in Somerset. And so if you get down to, say, the junction with South Shore and Middle Road there is no way to avoid, there is no, if you're in a vehicle, you have to come across that point. And so clearly that's a choke point, I want to call it. There will be a checkpoint there, I hope, right? You got to catch everybody.
It'll be so fluid. There will be checkpoints everywhere. Yeah. And remember, we don't have to have a checkpoint to see you driving impaired.
Right.
For example, your brake light might be out, but the police officer might stop you just for a traffic stop in reference to your brake light being out. They approach the vehicle, and then they observe the signs of impairment.
Okay.
So it's not always a roadside sobriety that police are actually picking people up, or they see people swerving all across the road. Because we have some persons, which, like Mr. Santucci said, that hold their alcohol a lot better than others.
Yes. And again, I don't want to press too much, but I want to ask this question in terms of, so your division has 12 people, I think you said, right?
No, that's a team.
12 teams.
We have a team. So we have multiple teams within the division.
And so each team has 12 people?
It will vary.
Okay. And again, I'm not trying to.
It all depends on the initiative and the operation that's taking place.
Right.
And like I said, we could bolster anything from up to 6 up to 40.
Wow.
So it varies.
And then to go back to what Mr. Roberts said about him had a ride along, and actually also to what Mr. Santucci said, it's how do you manage a weekend like that in terms of, obviously people can only work so many hours before they get tired themselves. There's going to be, unfortunately, like 1 or 2 incidents, I suppose. How does that work in a practical sense? In that your most activity is going to be in Somerset, I assume, or not Somerset, but in the west. But then there's some events in the middle and also in the east. How does that work?
So later on this week, you'll get the Operation Police Plan. I think it's going to be presented by the commander that's over the holiday.
Okay.
But I won't go too much detail. Sure. I don't know,
Understood.
Relieve too much. But on any type of operation such as this, we would increase our staffing personnel. We are currently work 12 hours shifts, so 8 to 8. So 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. is a shift. And during that period at Hamilton Police Station, we would be utilizing the correction side for additional cells. If we do catch persons for other offenses or driving while impaired, we'll be able to house them there. So we actually extend our jail area over into the Department of Corrections' side. That will be closed, obviously, due to the holiday.
Well, I don't know what to do. What is corrections?
Corrections, Westgate.
Well, I mean, but you said a correction.
They have cells. So So pretty much, the police have a jail area, which we have a decent amount of cells. So in expectations of that, we are going to be more proactive, and the likelihood we'd be arresting more persons out on the street, or we expect more engagements that may lead to an arrest. We would actually bring on additional staff to work the jail area, and by that we'll open up the custody side over in the correction side.
Okay, and then that goes back to what Mr. Santu said earlier in terms of extra rooms, but also from the program, actually, it's from a cost point of view, of course, it becomes expensive then, right? I assume in terms of overtime, extra persons, people working, and whatever the case may be.
Yep, the additional staff will have to be brought on, because obviously there's a ratio to amount of staff we have for per detainee.
And where did the extra staff come from?
The extra staff will come people that their arrest days will be canceled. So not everything ends up into, I don't want to go down to the admin side of it,
okay.
But not every time you see additional officers actually cost the public money. Unfortunately, that officer gets their arrest day canceled, and that'll be put into their bank, and they get to use that day another day. But obviously, if it's a public holiday, it's different. But we, on numerous occasions, we've unfortunately had to cancel officers' rest days to get the staffing numbers that we need to police the island.
Okay. And, again, from before, when I was a police officer myself, I understand the demand in that the public are now getting ready for this big old holiday time, not realize behind the scenes, guess what, for others it's going to be, oh my goodness, I can't spend time with my family because I'm going to do this. And then, of course, when incidents arise, you are put in some cases, you're put in harm's way, because you never know what's going to take place. So how do you manage the human side now? How do you manage the potential distress, or just the constant tension of just being an officer, especially what you're talking about now? So I assume that you participate in all of these things that you do, right? In terms of the armed response and whatever.
Yes.
So how do you like speak to the human side now in terms of an officer being a quote unquote regular person, but you have to go to work every day and deal with the stresses of the job and the incidents that take place?
Firstly, if any officer experiences any type of trauma, we have an operational health unit, and part of that operational health unit, we have peer support officers. And those peer support officers are pretty much sprinkled out throughout the whole service. So as well as we stress to the supervisors, if you do observe any of your colleagues, it doesn't have to be a supervisor, but your peer, experiencing any type of stress or trauma, let it be during work or domestic related stress, then you can pull it aside, and not all the time we have to make you work per se, but we could address it in many different ways. But it's more watching out for one another. And then also, we use the word throttling. So not every day we're going to go out and just go. Every time that you go out on the street, there's also a side of administration that has to take part of it. That also has to take place as well. So therefore, it could be a successful prosecution. So what comes with working on the street comes with the admin side of the paperwork in the background. So it's a very fine balance, which the supervisors in the organization has to consider when we actually take on these types of operations.
Gotcha. And this may be an unfair question, but I'll ask it, which is, if you had to decide now, right, what to do to try to temper going back to the whole road usage situation, the dysfunction, what would you recommend to be do? What would you recommend to do, or could be done?
Well, first of all, it's going to start from the community side. From our previous conversation that we were speaking earlier, there's one thing that hasn't really changed much in Bermuda is our road widths. The roads have always remained the same. The routes have pretty much remained the same, but our vehicles have gotten bigger. It'll be wider, longer, taller, some a bit more powerful. So as well as just do a bit of care for yourself. If you do feel tired, ask somebody to drive you. If you do have a few libations, have somebody to come pick you up, or organize that in advance. Simple things of checking your vehicle, making sure your headlights work, your indicators work, your brake lights work. Because believe it or not, a lot of accidents happen because people says, well, I didn't see their brake light, or they didn't have their indicator on. And things, or they had their indicator on, I thought there was turning. It happens all the time. You see people turning left. Anything going to turn left, you cut in front of them and they T-bone you. So it's these type of things. Or I had my indicator on and I thought. So it's more doing your vehicle checks. We do it and in the police service, we do our 18-point check. You're checking your fluids, making sure your engine don't seize. You're checking your tires, making sure if it's wet roads, your tire has enough grip so you're not sliding out. Harbor Road, famous. You get a little bit of water down there, it's guaranteed it's going to be a car or a bike that's going to slide out. and those type of things. Just do proper care. The helmet's made for a reason. There's been plenty of times I've seen people, have correct helmets. Like the helmet has a lifespan. So say like every 2 years, get a new helmet, and as well as utilize your seatbelt. I'm sure Mr. Antonio can remember we had 2 cars that were wrecked up in the compound, and I asked them which one you think had their seatbelt on. One car was completely mangled, no airbags deployed. Car that had airbags deployed had a seatbelt on. Some types of different cars are different. Sometimes the vehicle's airbags won't deploy unless your seatbelt's in. So one car completely mangled. The person walked away luckily. The other car clearly had the seatbelt on. The appropriate airbags deployed based on that driver's side because it detected that there might have been a human on that side of the car. Wow. So do your part. Buckle up. Check your vehicle's tires, indicators, headlights. Make sure people could see you on the side of the street. And as well as just take care and was it care, caution, and courtesy.
Wow. That's interesting in terms of the helmet part in particular, because heaven forbid, I have 2 children. I'm going to check and see when the last time they bought them a new helmet, because I know one of them have a helmet and they replace the interior piece of it, but not the helmet itself. And helmets, of course, are not inexpensive now. They cost lots of money. And so I guess to my own family, I got to go in now and buy 2 helmets to make sure that they're safe. But
to your point, these are all things that, the Road Safety Council, as well as the police, are, trying to educate our people on, most people don't, when they get in the car, they're driving, they just get in the car and don't check the car.
Correct.
I think it was last year we saw a number of accidents on the Harbor Road. Almost, every couple of weeks there's an accident on the Harbor Road. And I think it's, I can say this, is that, a lot of those accidents were due to people not having good tires. The tires are bald, So, making those checks in your car, making sure your helmet, you should change your helmet. If you have a crash, you should definitely change your helmet.
Yeah.
Some people drop the helmet too hard, you should change your helmet, because, it's not meant to last forever. Nothing's not meant to last forever. But, doing those checks, especially, for your car, doing the safety checks, making sure, like you said, your indicator's working. These are all things that help reduce the amount of collisions, because there is a difference between accidents and collisions.
Yeah.
Accidents is, act of God. A collision, crash is something that someone has caused. So, it can reduce the amount of collisions, crashes that we see on the island. We talk about, Bermudians enjoy. We like to enjoy summer. There are people say we're outside. We're outside all summer. And Cotton Match is it's the longest, probably our longest holiday in the year. And our people we're very cultural people. We enjoy being with each other. We enjoy hanging out with each other. And most of the people that are going to be outside are going to be outside for Wednesday. They're going to be at the party at Snow Park. They're going to the game. They're going on the water. They're going to another party. They're going to Cut Match again. They're going to the after party. They're going on the water. They're going to a friend's house. And most of all these parties, they're having at least 1 to 5 drinks. That's just be real. You know what I'm saying? And, so, planning ahead, so I always tell people, you're planning ahead. I heard someone say the other day that they schedule taxis for their family at Cut Match. They know that their family is going to Cut Match to have a great time, right? And we're not saying don't have a great time, but do responsibly. So schedule a taxi, schedule a ride, have a designated driver, do something so that when the party's over, we don't have to be having a tear moment, at the hospital because we've lost someone, or someone has lost a limb, or you have, you're going to be incarcerated because you caused the accident. These are the things that we have to think ahead, and so that we can come out of this holiday and have some fun and enjoy the holiday and say, listen, we had a very good holiday, and celebrate the culture for what it is, and not have to be sad on the opposite side of the holiday.
Gotcha. Okay, I think that's cool. Thank you, caller, for being patient. What's your question or comment? Welcome to Insight.
Oh, I'm enjoying all the information. You have very good guests there. I'm concerned with these e-bikes. What legislation is going to be put in place? Why do they think they can race around on these e-bikes?
Yes.
and very irresponsible. And even young people, they're probably not even 18 or whatever, and they're going around causing all this, maybe loss of life even. Any of your guests can elaborate to this? Why isn't something put in the House to pass that they can't do this? This is very serious. And I just wondered if they can address that.
Sure.
Thank you very much, I'll continue listening.
Thank you for calling. The caller rather, is asking about e-bikes in terms of what's going to be put in place, because, as she has said, the operators are younger and younger, and they're going faster and faster. I smiled the other day. I shouldn't smile. I was driving. And there are many young people riding e-bikes. I'm talking about young, like maybe say between 10 and 14, I guess, and riding recklessly on the sidewalk, off the sidewalk, almost like a gang as such, I suppose. But any comments in terms of that, please?
So I would say two things.
Don't call him. Okay.
And I say this first comment I say about everything. We all have a decision to make, right? And so I was saying to a parent the other day, you brought your 14-year-old e-bike, a $2,000 e-bike. Are you policing how they're riding that bike? Are you making sure they have a helmet on when they're riding? Are you policing where they're riding that bike? But so we have a decision to make. So we all make decisions, make good decisions or bad decisions. So, first of all, I say to all the e-bike riders, they have to make good decisions, right? And we have to change the culture of the decisions that we make for everything that we do. Secondly, there are a number of different types of e-bikes. Some of the e-bikes do fall under the auxiliary, what they call it, the Auxiliary Act. Currently, I know that I can say this. I won't go into detail. The Road Safety Council, along with Transport Control Department, is working on some things in regards to e-bike. They will see coming out very soon. But again, it goes back to, we could put as much legislation in the world. We can legislate the heck out of everything, right? But we still have to make a decision on how we act on our roads.
Okay. We do enforce e-bikes and their use of them. We just this year we've recorded a speed of 74 kilometers an hour in Kinley Field by an e-bike.
Yes.
Driven by a juvenile. Yep. So we still can also enforce impairment. You can get arrested for impairment, and as well as for careless or dangerous driving. We are presently not issuing tickets for unlicensed and uninsured, but we can ticket you for speed and your manner of driving. And
so, if you can, not detail, but so the person's underage riding a bike at that high speed, what offense are they called? And I guess it's what offense and what's the penalty? Because I'm not going to lose my license.
To prove the speed, obviously we're going to have the appropriate device to prove that.
Right.
The manner of driving or riding of the vehicle could be simply the police view it themselves and or it's captured on a recording device. Or we actually get a written statement. We get a lot of videos coming in through our portal, which is on the BPS website, that people videotape these persons. So we could identify that, and the offense of careless or driving a manner dangerous, we would actually pursue that matter. We had a collision just last week involving a senior and an e-bike. So depending on how that collision goes, that juvenile could get a ticket for careless driving. So let's say, depending if that does meet the points of proving for that, before as soon as you go 16, you might have points against your license already.
Okay.
Right, and usually that's a financial penalty. Careless driving a manner dangerous and careless driving usually come with about 6 months off the road plus a penalty.
Okay, that's interesting. And I think maybe 2 weeks ago when I was coming up here from the east, the same thing. I was driving from south side, basically, and people riding in front of me on the sidewalk, popping off the sidewalk, and I was trying to be patient, I suppose. I don't want to overtake them, but at a point in time, it's like, beep, beep, move out of my way, because I was trying to, I guess, even manage my own response. Because at a point in time, you get irritated, you want to go faster, past them all. But that is a real thing, and I take your point, Mr. Roberts, in terms of parents now, or adults or guardians. We have to take control of that in terms of, because right now I am 15, I'm riding these bikes, or even 14, and then I progress to, I guess, 16, have an auxiliary bike, 18, and my road behavior is just atrocious from beginning. And then, mommy, granny, or somebody else, it's too late. So what do we do? Let me take the call. That was a rhetorical question. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. What's your question or comment?
Good evening to you and your guest.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. E-bikes come in different categories. There are e-bikes that are known as paddle assist, and I can see one of your guests there naked, shaking their head with agreement. These are the bikes that have paddles. Yeah. Then there are e-bikes that is just the motor itself. E-bikes are measured in watts. I do know that 750 watts used to be the norm. I'm not sure what they are today, but I do know that they are measured in watts. And I don't know what is the cutoff point where an e-bike has to be registered with the transport department, meaning you have some scooters that are electric, right? That's e-bike. And they have to have a license and be registered. So I'm not sure what wattage is put on, which is non-licensed and has to be licensed. That's one. Also, with the road safety, Bermuda's a country of no. When a suggestion comes out, we can't do that. Why not? We should try it anyway. One of the things is the traffic light down by Harmony Club. You may be familiar with it. As you come on the South Shore Road, and Harmony Club.
Yes.
Paget. Before you get to the grocery store.
Yes.
There is a stoplight there. Many times, I live on the South Shore, so I pass it every day. Many times, the light is red, there's no one crossing the road, simply because when the traffic is clear, they'll go across anyway, without waiting for the light to turn red for me to stop. They will cross. So when I get there, I'm stopped, but there's no one there.
Are you talking about, at a crosswalk? Yes, okay, keep going.
Right. That was put in several years ago. I don't know why they didn't put in a crosswalk one like you see just up there by Cocoa Reef. Before you get to Cocoa Reef, you push the button, and where the bus stop is there, and you walk across the road. The amber light flashes, and you go across. But that one down there by Harmony, all traffic has to come to a stop, and many times there's no one there. One other thing that holds up the traffic quite a bit, and this may have to be looked at, the entrance to the Paget Plaza, one right there by White Sands Road, okay? All of your has traveled, and you've probably traveled abroad and driven. You will find that you may come out of one of the hardware stores, Lowe's, Home Depot, or whatever, and you want to get across the street to Walmart.
Yes.
You just can't go across the street. You have to drive up, move to the left lane, and then go up and come around, then get into the Walmart that you might want to get to. Many times, the traffic on South Shore Road is backed up simply because someone who's heading east wants to turn into the plaza.
Yes.
And traffic coming out of Hamilton is not giving way for them to turn in. So therefore,
I see.
You've got the traffic on South Shore blocked up and Middle Road because the person wants to do this. It may have to be where if you want to get to that plaza and you're heading east, go all around a roundabout and come back. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I got your point. So to the listening audience, what you're saying, to listen, what you're saying is that
if you want,
yes, understood.
It may continue the flow.
Okay.
Otherwise, you got that backup.
I got you.
Of the traffic.
Okay.
But people say, "Oh, we can't do that." Why not? If you're abroad, you do it. You just can't go across the street. You got to go and come down on the other lane. You know, so it's things like that. With the traffic today, that you may have to do that. One other thing, I'll end with this. I'm in a cycle club here, and I have what is known as a big bike, one of the heavier ones.
Yes.
And it was Dr. Brown that changed the legislation that allowed people of my age, I'm 83 years old, to get a big bike. But I had it when I was in my 60s.
Yes.
The bike is old now. Young people don't want a bike like that simply because it's big and heavy and it's got gears, right? I came up with gears. Most of you that are in the studio wouldn't remember this, but when I came up, you couldn't ride a big bike, until you were 21, right? But yet I could drive a car at 18, but I had to be 21. Also, you may remember that when the days of the Mobilettes and the Zundaps and the Cyruses and all that, you couldn't tow anybody over the age of 16 on what was known as an auxiliary cycle.
Okay.
Auxiliary cycles in my day did not have gears. They were single gear. Today, I see the blue plate, which indicates auxiliary cycle. They have gears today. That's how things have advanced.
Okay.
But to get to the big bikes, you will see less and less and less of these big bikes simply because due to the regulation we have here in this country, there's a restriction on CCs. 150 cc is the maximum for people like myself to have. Our counterparts, when we go to the United States and ride with our friends out there, that's when we can ride the 250s, 300, 350, whatever, right? They laugh when we tell them, oh, we're restricted to 150 cc. Well, we are having locally problems getting parts for these bikes, and you can see less and less of them on the road because of nutrition. You know, we just can't get the parts for them. And we overseas, and they say, no, we have parts for 250, not 150. 150 is for the young people. But Bermuda's one of the only countries that has a restriction on motorcycle size. And any of your police officers that's been down the islands, and some from the islands, they know down there's no restriction on size of motorcycles.
All right.
So I just wanted to throw that out.
Thank you so much, Colin. Appreciate that.
Eventually, the big bikes will just die because of the age of the people like myself and because of the lack of parts.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for calling, caller. Appreciate that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, hold on, caller. That's an interesting point. In terms of overseas, for sure, you got to drive all the way around to get to the other side of the road. I guess for what it's worth, what are your comments in terms of something like that? Would it work in Bermuda?
Well, Bermuda is very unique, so some things you just can't change. And unfortunately, that's when you're going to affect the business if that's the case, or you're going to just cause congestion elsewhere.
Sure. Okay.
So like I said, care, caution, and courtesy. If you believe that you're holding up traffic too much and nobody's sending you through, move on.
Different comment, because from that comment, from the caller's comment, I have a different question, which is, do you have any comments in terms of Bermuda's road structure, in terms of, are the roads themselves designed correctly? Because in some cases, it may be that the roads are too flat for the sharpness of the corner. Or do you as a police officer, the police department, get involved in giving comments to public works about the road design, if that's the right way to put it?
We can provide recommendations from, let us say, that an accident occurred at a location. We could talk about blind corners. We work very well with Works Engineering, Mr. Curtis Charles.
Yes.
So pointing up appropriate signs. And like I said, Bermuda roads some are very old. We have probably about so many different types of surfaces of asphalt. And then just modernizing that, and also the camber of the roads. So we do be able to give feedback. We meet with TCD frequently, as well as the Road Safety Council, where all these ideas and suggestions come from. We do actually put them forward, and the Works Engineering is actually willing to assist. Even go down the lines of hedges that are overgrown that are causing people to go closer to the center line, which may cause mirrors to clip or persons becoming on the other side of the road. So we do actually speak to them on a regular, and actually the suggestions are put forward.
Okay. One quick question, and I guess, not a guess, but you as a police officer, I am surprised, I am surprised that the T Street Junction is a frequent accident spot in the sense that it's wide open, and I don't quite understand. Is there a structural reason for that, or is it just the fact that it's open?
South or middle? Middle.
Yeah.
Middle road. It is a wide junction. It's just like I said, people are just sometimes impatient and wants to beat the vehicle that's approaching them, or they don't. For example, if you want to turn south on T Street from Middle Road, some people just think that vehicle's going to stop, and next thing you know, there's actually a vehicle that's actually traveling east along Middle Road, and they don't see that, so they don't take the caution and courtesy before entering into the road.
Okay.
If they do see that vehicle coming to a stop.
Yeah, because that's one, to be honest, where it's like it's for me personally, it's so wide open. I'm like, why would there be so many accidents there? Because you have enough time to see what's going on. You know, I've been there sometimes now just to stop and look and see, am I missing something or whatever? So I'm not being critical, but I'm just like, good gracious, like, and if you come up the hill, cars go into the steps and overturn sometimes. And anyway, that's it. I'll leave for now. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Inside. What's your question or comment?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I was hoping I didn't lose my train of thought.
No worries.
I wanted to be helpful with the gentleman about the stoplight on that he was referring to that takes you to South Road from the that stoplight.
Yes.
The reason that stoplight is designed a little differently, and I partially agree with him. I think sometimes these stoplights a little bit too long-winded in terms of when they change, when a pedestrian presses them, goes across the road and the light changes back. Sometimes it's a bit long-winded. But that light is made to be a little extra long because it's the main throughway for many equestrians.
Oh.
So because of that, that where an equestrian actually can reach it. There's a button low down and there's a button high up for equestrians to be able to push it. But sometimes it will be a little. Maybe they think a horse is gonna take a long time. But I don't agree with that. But that's how it's designed.
Sure. And you're speaking to the. Sorry, Mike. You're speaking to the stoplight that if you're going west, it's just off the hill on the corner. That one.
Yeah. Just before.
Okay.
Before
Malama. Okay. Yes, I got you.
It's actually a valuable stoplight because think about if you're swinging around that corner.
Yeah.
It kind of can be dangerous for people that's trying to get across, let alone a person on a horse. You know what I mean? So it's a great stoplight in terms of its use, but that may be the reason it is so long, and of course may upset some people.
But thank you, actually, because that's
the main throughway for your question.
Right, and thank you for that, because as you said, in the previous show, I think it is, that we sometimes forget that there are other road users besides us as humans and vehicles, that there are the equestrians that ride both there and further up South Shore. So thanks for having us be more focused on the fact that there are others that use the road besides humans and vehicles. Thank you.
Yeah, and the nice thing about equestrians, they're not on the road usually for a long period of time.
Understood.
People just have to be, as the officer said, you just have to be a little bit more courteous and patient.
Gotcha.
But I do agree with the gentleman when it comes to...
The lines are lit up this tight, Mike. I got to cut you off.
Well, the reason I'm going to go with this, because there was a lot of talk about how to make traffic flow easier getting into the city at one time. And I always felt that coming out of that Paget area, if there's a sign telling people they can't turn right, they have to turn left and come back, you would probably have faster traffic flow. So that's all I would like to back that gentleman on that idea.
Okay.
And it's the same when it comes to people in Bermuda. I don't know, the officer may be able to comment to this too. People in Bermuda seem to be...
Whoa, Mike, whoa, smiling, right? Whoa, smiling. Hear me?
Yes,
Thank you.
But I'm saying people seem to be unfamiliar with four-way stops. Whenever there's a stoplight out, nobody knows what to do. But because I drove in the States for so long, I was very familiar with first come, first go.
Gotcha. All right, I'm going to say thanks, Mike. Thanks on that point, all right? Yeah. Cool.
All right.
Okay, thanks.
Anyway.
Okay, good night.
Yeah.
Good evening, caller. Welcome to Inside. What's your question or comment?
Well, good evening, Mr. Richardson, and good evening to your guest.
A familiar voice. Good evening to you, too.
Hi. Okay, I've called to share with you something I done a few years ago on my white T-shirt with the black lettering, and it's sending a message any time of the year, but mostly around Cup Match. People get a little more looser and wild. And this is what is on the front of the T-shirt. LDD goes together. When you look at the back of the T-shirt, it says the breakdown is liquor, driving, and death. So don't get together with them.
Thank you.
Exclamation mark.
Wow. Okay.
That's it.
Thank you very much. Good gracious.
You're
Well, thank you.
welcome.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Inside. What's your question or comment?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Richardson, and also the officer there.
Thank you, sir. Be concise, please.
I'm going to be very concise. I heard the gentleman mention that overgrown hedging, right? Now, that's something that can and should be policed by the police, because overgrown hedging, going over your boundary wall, or even lined up with it, is against the law. Look it up and you'll find out that that can be policed by you guys, okay? You could be responsible or hold some accountability for that because it's against the law. And again, the traffic light up there at Paget, we need assistance from the police, especially during the rush hour at 5 o'clock and in the morning. The traffic light in Paget is not capable of handling the amount of traffic that's coming out of the city in Hamilton. Before we had police officers, we used to have them up there at Montpelier Road. We had them in a lot of different areas. But since we switched from the police force into the police service department, but we're very slack on a lot of things that's actually not being managed, I would say, properly by the force. Okay. And it was a police force before, now it's a police service. So, you know, when that was switched, it's a difference, and we can see it and what's going on within your own departments. No, but we need assistance during the rush hour from the police department. It's not a works and engineering problem. Those stoplights were just put there for the convenience at the time. But when it's a rush hour in all countries, you see either traffic officers from TCD, I don't know what they're sleeping on, but they also could help in that situation. But in all countries during the rush hour,
okay, got you, Gola. Got it.
Traffic cops. We need traffic cops out during the rush hour, assisting with the traffic coming out of the city of Hamilton and also going in.
Okay, excellent point.
This is something that used to happen before. So I'm just saying.
Let me ask you a question, Gola. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Gotcha. That's excellent. Sorry, hold on, caller. That's excellent, but I think it goes back without prejudging the answer, I suppose, that means more officers being taken off their normal job to do that.
Well, like he did mention, we did actually have a police officer in Middle Road, Montpelier years ago, and we also used to have a police officer below Sperling Hill, which you now see is taken over by the traffic wardens.
Yes.
So, like I said, back in the day, the service numbers are very well bolstered, and even though we alluded to that we were around 360 to 380 persons, that doesn't mean frontline persons. So really and truly, we're looking for persons actually where you see on a day-to-day uniform. We just don't have the staffing levels at this time to actually offer those services. But I can say that during times such as the Christmas boat parade, we actually do post persons at the Paget lights because we expect that increase, and we actually have traffic officers from the road policing unit to assist with the traffic flow.
Okay.
But like I said, we're definitely trying to do recruiting right now. We've got one recruit foundation course we just started last week, and we anticipate to do another one. So I do believe the commissioner is actually trying to bolster our numbers up to more a healthier number. We could actually maybe start offering these services on a more regular basis.
Do you have an idea in terms of how many more officers have been authorized?
I don't know that number off the top of my head, but I do know that we do have 2 recruit courses that's going to be in the mid to high teens. And one of them, right now. Okay. I think everybody's in it. If you don't want to, well, that's another recruit campaign. If you also, the reserves are also looking for recruit too. So if you actually willing and want to help, you could either come in and join the full time, or you can actually sign up for reserve police.
Well, and just a question in terms of, for example, the traffic management as a stationary police officer at these choke points. Yeah, not you, of course, but I mean, it's maybe have somebody else, a civilian, do it, for example, that I can do it every day at whatever, from 5 to 6 or whatever it is, I suppose, without having to go through that full route, or having to cause a police officer to be taken away from his normal duty.
That will fall down to what type of powers that person would have. You just don't want a civilian directing traffic, because the first thing you're going to say is somebody's going to say, well, who are you to stop me?
Okay, fair enough.
So they have no powers or authority to stop somebody, or the police or somebody that's sworn to take on that role.
Gotcha, okay.
That might be more of an option for like they said, the traffic officers, TT traffic officers. But I just want to go back to one of the comments that the caller made about the hedges.
Yes.
We actually just went to a site visit, a frequent accident spot in Hamilton, I would say. And one of the biggest causes of that actual area is because of the hedges. And when we looked at the property, the residence hedge came out like a foot or two beyond the boundary line. And so, the caller put it on the police officers to police that. Love the police officers. They can't police everything, for goodness sake. But why do we have to, and this is where we have to go back to, why do police have to police everything? Why does we, as people, as our community, just can't follow the law? Cut the trees.
Yeah.
Doggone it. There's a lot, you find that all across the island where trees are just overgrown. So if we, as our people, take responsibility as for ourselves and cut our trees, then, we will see less. But in that particular accident spot, the cause of the accidents is because of overgrown trees. So we do see that a lot. Waxing Engineering they do send out letters to residents to say, hey, your trees are beyond thing, and if you don't cut them, we'll cut them for you and charge you for it. So they are. So Waxing Engineering is policing that. Give the officers a little bit of a rest.
But that's a good point in terms of we blame everybody else except for ourselves. And even as all of you are talking tonight, I am thinking about the fact that, guess what? If my boundary's here and the hedges are like a foot or 2 feet over, that means I'm going to be farther to the road. The road's, 10 feet wide anyway, so I'm already 8 feet, I'm almost using my 8 feet, which means that I'm going to be closer to the center line. You come around the corner, you're going to hit my mirror or something, I'm going to swerve. And so I'm now thinking about the impact of something, quote unquote, just as simple as cut your hedges. So Bermuda, cut your hedges now so that nothing's overhanging to ensure that people don't go across. And now, as Officer Smith said, we do have larger vehicles, and sometimes I drive like a minibus sometimes, for example, right? And you'd be surprised at how little room there is on my side of the road to start with. And so if I'm coming 2 feet out, that's an accident for sure. And so again, I'll piggyback on that point and say, all of us, let's now cut back our hedges based upon tonight's conversation.
We're going in hurricane season too. So sticking to our BOCO colleagues out there, let's cut your trees and hedges, get them away from the power lines. And just speaking about the picture of trees is that we have these street lights. So sometimes those trees grow out. Government put a lot of investment in BOCO with the more brighter lights. The trees are just blocking the light, so the light's not allowed hitting the road.
Okay.
So pedestrians and people aren't really seeing the overgrowth until the last minute. So cut your trees, cut your hedges.
That's brilliant. Good evening, caller. Thank you for your patience. What's your question or comment?
Yeah, thanks a lot. You think I get one? I'm enjoying the conversation.
Can you write it down, though, please?
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead. Caller?
Mr.
Good evening, Ms. Richardson. Yeah, I'm a guest. I'm enjoying your show.
Thank you.
One thing I don't know if anybody's brought it up, but I think they should ban the visors, the colored visors.
The dark visors?
Yes.
Okay.
Because you can never tell who is riding. And if they want to ride, I ride a motorbike, put red shades on. And if there's things, you know who's riding it.
Okay.
The other thing I want to mention is about these e-bikes. I'm on the road quite often. And I think personally, a lot of those bikes should be licensed and insured, because if one hits you, you get an accident, you know who's who, and they're going. And they ride this. I'm seeing the youngsters ride this bike. They overtake on corners. They go on the inside of you sometimes. You just hear a whisker pass you. So I think one gentleman was talking about the I think it was by the electrical one. I think the company red, they all should be, as far as I'm concerned, licensed and insured.
Okay.
That's how I feel. And because if they get in, like I was going to repeat myself, if you get in an accident on one of those bikes, where's the recourse? You got to pay on your insurance?
Understood. Thank you, caller.
Yeah, thank you.
Gotcha. Sorry. Hold on, caller. That's a good point. I've always asked this myself in terms of we sometimes say that certain things are illegal, yet we allow them to be sold. One of those things would be putting kits on bikes, for example, that I buy a bike which is, I don't know, 125, let's say. I put a kit on it, the bike goes super fast, but yet there is no ban on selling those parts. How does that work? What sense does that make?
Particularly with the parts, the bikes do go TCD.
Mm-hmm.
They do get inspected. As well as we suspect that any bike, it has oversized parts on it, we could actually seize that bike and make inquiries into that bike. But really and truly, these parts, they're not made in Bermuda, so they come in. So we've explored with our colleagues in customs, asking them certain questions, like there's any way that there's a route that we could actually seize it. For the Motocross Association or anybody who goes down the track, they actually have a written letter that would have to come across, this engine's coming in for this bike for this use, and it's not to be used on the road. In reference to the visor question, the visors, like I said, they could wear shades, but people actually have prescriptions. People have their windshields slightly tinted. Should be no tint except for the 6 inches on top of the windshield. But if you do actually have a subscribed doctor's note from your doctor to say that you do need that, the same thing is going to apply for a visor. These days, especially traveling east from the west is a danger. So I would definitely prefer a dark visor. But like I said, it comes down to responsibility. Why are we going to wear a dark visor at night? Yes. Has that contributed to accidents? Possibly so. But then we also have the powers under section 315FG, similar to what we use for our stop and search underneath the criminal code, to actually, if we want to identify somebody, we can actually remove your face covering.
Well,
let it be a visor, let it be a scarf, let it be shades.
What's from the police cycle unit now? You see cars driving around, right, with super dark tint all the way around, obviously legal. How, like, is it, I guess, let me back up. I guess my question is, how do you determine what's a priority or what's worth the hassle, quote unquote, in enforcing? Because a car, it's dark tint, it's legal for sure, but yet you drive them around all the time.
We do utilize tint meters, but traditionally what we're trying to do now is actually take that vehicle directly to TCD, and that vehicle will be canceled on the spot by an examiner. So,
and for example,
best practice going forward, that's what we're doing.
And how often does that happen, though?
Like I said, it's resource intensive.
Okay.
We have to stop that vehicle. We're doing an initiative, Barnes Corner.
Yes.
That vehicle will then have to be escorted to TCD, and then the examiner examine that vehicle at TCD to see if it's over the legal tint. And or you receive an offense for each window, and your vehicle will be impounded, or your vehicle, we take all the tint off the roadside.
Right
so
there and
those
then.
are the options right there and then.
Good gracious. And you may not be able to answer this, but how often does it happen? How often would you stop your team or have stop a car that's super tinted?
I can't say it needs to happen more, but like I said, we're very limited on what we can do with what numbers we have.
Gotcha. And I'm obviously not being unfair. I'm not trying not to be unfair about that, because I'm thinking now of Colonel Birch. Colonel Birch used to say that, you know what, if we start to enforce the small things, the big things take care of themselves, because I'm going to get irritated, let's say, because you stopped me for running a stop sign 5 times, but I will start to pay attention to my bigger things, and that may take care of itself. But I take the point, of course, that it is resource intensive, meaning you need more people to do that. So, okay, gotcha.
But like I said, we do our best with what numbers we have when we can.
Gotcha. Cole, just be patient for a minute more, please. What is clearly, we slow down when we see vehicles, police vehicles, right? And I was somewhere, it was the other day, where, maybe on Kinley. Yeah, it was on Kinley, actually. There was a police car parked with the lights flashing, right, toward the eastern end of Kinley Field there. I don't know if an officer's in the vehicle or not, but clearly, when you see that, you slow down, right? What else do you guys do in terms of, I think the commissioner talked about it as traffic calming measures. So
traffic calming measures?
Yeah.
We do it roadside sobriety. Our PR team, Mr. Moreno, will put out advocates stating that, we'll be homing in on these offenses, or we'll give you fair warning, e-bikes. Earlier this week, we put a message about e-bikes saying that, hey, you can be ticketed for these offenses. So those are the type of things we do for traffic calming, and or, like I said, just showing that visible presence out there by parking a motor car, a marked vehicle on the side of the road just to calm down, or even just seeing a police officer presence wearing high vis.
Right.
So there are traffic calming measures that we do.
Gotcha. And did you say you have more bikes, more police bikes now?
Oh no, we have the same. We actually have not as much as we have, but we are intending to get more. But like I said, you can't be out all the time.
Right.
So, but we do our best.
How much does a police bike cost, buddy?
Ooh, you're gonna have to ask our finance department for that one. But they have gotten a bit more expensive. Like back in the day, they got a bit more advanced, a bit more lights. So literally, it's like a car. ABS, traction control, visor control. So they are pretty penny.
Well, more than 10,000.
I would say in and around, or maybe excess of 10.
Wow. Okay.
BYD has some really good police bikes.
Have him take the mic and say it again.
I said BYD have some really good electric police bikes.
And you are an advocate for electric stuff, right?
No, I'm not opposed to them, but I just want you to know that they have some amazing bikes that they use and operate in China.
Okay, in China. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. What's your question or comment?
Yeah, I'm just calling back. I was just calling back to the excuse I heard with the gentleman talking about the edges and giving the police. That's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Instead of being a force, it seems like you're activating a service. Those hedges are against the law to be out there. People is getting killed because they can't see with a gun when they try to approach the main road. We can't be using these types of excuses when lives are at stake. And it's the same thing with the dog face helmet. What were they doing before then? We didn't have that dog face helmet. You put on a first aid. This excuse about doctor certificate so I can wear a black face helmet, that's ludicrous in the sense where we have prescription shades or whatever is needed for that. Using that as an excuse is not going to satisfy the people who missing their family members because someone walked up into their yard and fired off a weapon, and now they lost that member of family. And then when you come on the scene and say, who was it? Oh, I don't know. He had on a black face helmet and dark clothes. No kind of identification at all. Sounds like we're aiding and abetting to this particular type of crime that's going on due to the fact that you can use that particular type of helmet to do that. So we need to rethink that for the force of the general public. We need a police force, not a police service. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hold on, caller. Do you want to comment on that? Because before, like way back, many years ago now, the police department was referred to as a police force. Then we changed to a police service. Were you in the service at that time? I guess not.
So I came in when it was a service.
Right. Okay. And to the listening audience, there was a reason because almost the word force was very different than a service. So you didn't want it to be that brutality sort of thing. As a service, it was designed to get us more involved and realize that the police are a part of the community as opposed to an opponent of the community. And so that was part of the psychology in changing the name. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. What's your question or comment?
Hi, good evening. And just a comment.
Sure. Turn your radio down there, please.
Just with the traffic lights going into Patrick, traveling west, the one that takes you up to Social Road.
Yes.
I've seen when the lights change, that one way up the top, which goes red and green. To me, that should always be green. I've seen a local stop because that light changed to green when it's a throughway. They got a little arrow going there, but I think that top light should always be green. Just a comment.
Thank you. You have some more?
Is that Beach Street Extension?
No, I think it's talking at the Patrick stoplights where the light to go South Shore should always be green, so people don't make a mistake and stop. Sometimes I see it also where people will come and they stop in the left lane rather than keep on going.
I think it's red and green. Like so, it's red on this. The one on the left hand side is red and also green to also tell you to stop. But the people on the left hand side do good. I think it's red and green.
Gotcha. Okay, fair enough. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. What's your question or comment?
Oh, yes, good evening to you. I have the answer to the visor problem. I'm one of those that have to wear glasses, and I don't wear dark glasses. The visor, my helmet has a full visor, which is clear, and then it has a 3/4 visor, which I use, which covers my eyes, similar to the strip there on the top of a car.
Yes.
They should ban all full dark visors because that's not needed. All you need is a curved visor and a 3/4 visor. That would be a start. That would help out a lot because you'll be able to see most from the person's nose down.
Right.
That's on the visor part. Now, as far as the hedges are concerned, I agree with the last couple of callers ago. Colonel Betch had a program that when the Western engineer was cutting hedges, they were billing people. People know what they can get away with. I was one of those people that worked for government, and a lot of people know what they can get away with. On top of Spurling Hill going towards Cavendish Heights, there's about 3 on the left-hand side there, 3 houses there. The hedges are always almost 2 feet out into the road. And if you look at the houses, I make a pretty good penny, and I'm pretty well off. Those houses are much more than my house. If they can afford those houses, they can afford to cut those hedges. And Cavendish Heights is one of the worst places in the island because the hedges are always 2 feet out. Why can't we just enforce the law? And we are not enforcing the law. Some things are pretty easy. If you cut people's hedges like the Colonel used to do and send them a bill, I guarantee you the hedges will be cut. The bottom line is, simple things. We are not cutting the hedges. And earlier, Anthony, you made it like the officers were saying that, just go out and cut your hedges. We make it like a game. If you're serious, build the people so that they can cut the hedges. The visors just have the 3/4 dark tint and a full flip. Bendy full visor, dark visor is not needed. I work corrections. And I see my eyes because of the type of work I did. So you would never see I've been drinking or anything. I don't have glasses that darken like within the sun. So I have, as I said, I have a 3/4 dark visor that comes down to it protects my eyes from the sun. And if it's raining or heavy wind, I pull the curved visor down. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to do that. Actually,
you're right. And I must admit that one of my children have a helmet like that when I wear it. So hold on, caller. Where I wear it, my eyes can be in the shade and the rest of the face can be seen, although I'm not sure you can tell who I am, but that's a different conversation. The lines are lighting up. Thank you. Sorry, I should have said it earlier, but anyway, thank you for joining us here on Magic 102.7 on your Sunday evening for another edition of Insight. Lots of questions and comments and lots of information being shared in terms of road safety, in terms of people being sensible, especially in light of the upcoming holiday, the 5-day weekend, I want to call it, whereby there are lots of things to do. And unfortunately, the reality is that we, as a people, are used to we create fun with drinking or being under the influence, and we have to be sure that we have a proper process to get ourselves home safely. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. What's your question or comment?
Yes, good evening to you, Mr. Richardson, and also to your guest.
Good evening.
Good evening. You were talking earlier about crossing, I'm going to call them crossing guards.
Yes.
You know how they have them at schools?
Yes.
And I don't know what kind of rights they have when they're directing traffic and everything like that. And a couple of people were saying that, like, on a couple of, like, Montpelier and maybe up to the stoplights up in Paget, if they could use somebody at that time for, the rush hours, would that be possible? And use them on the same type of whatever the crossing guards at schools have? Is that a thought?
Yeah. I think the crossing guards at schools have no authority at all, I don't think. But I guess, as someone said earlier...
Well, they can direct traffic and everything like that.
But without authority, dude. My point, I guess, tonight is going to be that someone called earlier and said we say no. There's probably no reason why we can develop some system whereby persons can be specially designated to to direct traffic and be deployed given the benefit of doing so.
Right.
So given that, say, having traffic flow smoothly would help quite a bit, there should be some way whereby you can figure this problem out. So I'm happy about that.
They do have traffic officers.
Yes.
So they have some sort of right
to
just hire, even if you hire traffic officers for that time frame. So it's not a matter that they're being paid overtime, but it's just a matter for that time frame, 4:30 to 6,
for example.
Something like that.
Yeah. Thank you, caller. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
A calming voice. Thank you very much.
And enjoy your cup match.
St. George is all the way. Thank you.
Okay, Thomason.
No. Goodbye.
Yes, I am.
You shouldn't be.
Take care now.
No worries. Thank you. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Inside. What's your question or comment?
Hey, good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Two quick things.
Sure.
People who like riding seems to like riding without their helmet fastened.
Yes.
I just ask each of us who sees them, hey, fasten up your helmet. You know, whether you have that is their business.
Yeah.
Now the other side of the story is, I bet there's been very few or no accidents at where the stoplight, traffic lights are at T Street because of the roadworks. And I think you police officers, I think you can confirm that there's been no accidents since those lights have been there, directing traffic. So what that means, we need to put traffic lights at T Street because that's a frequent accident spot. Okay?
Well, thank you.
And I'm not saying that as a question.
Sure.
I'm saying that as a demand.
Sure. Wow.
Because I am frustrated at that position, always having an accident. And now we got this position there, there's been no accidents, so we need traffic lights there. Bye-bye. Good night. Thank you very much. Good show.
Thank you.
I encourage the caller to write a letter to the Department of Public Works. The Department of Public Works is responsible for stoplights and those types of things. So I encourage the caller to send in a letter with his thoughts to the Department of Public Works.
That's interesting, actually. So, Officer Smith, what is your comment in terms of the effectiveness of stoplights?
Stoplights, it's a road marking. It's most likely been gazetted. It's part of the road design, and we can enforce it. It is posted and it's a legal stoplight. For the comment with T Street, there's plenty of signage as well. It's just like we're going back to speed bumps.
Yes.
So they introduced speed bumps down Parsons Road because people were complaining that persons are driving too quick in along Parsons Road. So you can't appease all persons. Now the speed bumps are too big. So it's like, what is it? Do you want people initiatives to take place here, or how do you want to implement certain things? But it's a happy medium. A three-way or a stoplight or a giveaway or for that T-junction, like I said, Mr. Roberts said, that's all highways. That's going to be the Department of Public Works.
And speaking about speed bumps, what's your comment in terms of the impact of speed bumps? In my mind, they're all over the place now. So you are responding at high speed to an incident. Speed bumps everywhere.
We would have to yield just like anybody else, or we'd be having our engine on the ground, or our suspension gone, or our wheel fall off.
Wow. Because that's, I obviously I'm supportive of safety, but speed bumps in public roadways, like major roadways, I'm like it impacts yourselves, ambulances, fire trucks, and any emergency, I suppose. And so I guess you have to be mindful of the trade-off between convenience and safety.
I think that's one of the things that highways they look at very closely. We have tried to put speed bumps in places before, and we were told we can't because of emergency service vehicles. But where you see speed bumps now is where our people we're really trying to slow down our people, and you think of Parsons Road, right? I think the work probably had some speed bumps. But before that, people were recklessly, coming off their heel, coming from National City and coming right down. And with area where we have a school, that road is very busy. So I think they had to put speed bumps in place to really control how the speed of people in that area.
Gotcha. And I will smile for the show, right? This is the comment. Officer Smith speaks with clarity, and he is very informative. Thank you. Move up to an inspector. Was that a paying advertisement? It's public comment from Narette Simmons, so well done. It's Narette Simmons who sent that, so well done. Good evening, caller. Thank you for calling Insight. What's your question or comment? Caller? Okay. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. Okay, please call back. The lines were lit up, and I guess I took too long to answer them. Whoa, time flies. It's 10 minutes to 10 already. It's definitely a good conversation. Lots of comments coming in. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. What's your question or comment?
Good night, Mr. Richards, and a very good program.
Thank you.
I would respectfully suggest that the role of the TCD officers be improved upon or changed, not just having them at the airport or dockyard, but island-wide, particularly for traffic purposes.
Actually, if I'm not mistaken, the TCD traffic officers now are actually used throughout the island.
Yes.
You see them in I think their cars are gray,
Yes.
doing lots of enforcement actions.
Well, we were speaking about the traffic area in Paget and all the places.
Yeah.
Maybe they can utilize there on occasion.
Yes, okay, that might help.
That's
I
what
think
I'm suggesting.
Mr. Roberts did indicate earlier that the TCD traffic officers have more power than the average citizen, and so that might be something that can be used.
I encourage everyone to write in to the director of TCD and make these recommendations so that we can see if, but the traffic officers, they do enforce, especially in the city. You see them in the city, especially in the morning. They're enforcing traffic, and I think they're pointed up Horseshoe Bay area as well as Dockyard, and to help with the flow of traffic in certain areas as well.
Okay. So Mr. Roberts has advised that the TCD traffic officers are used to assist with traffic flow in certainly both the west, east, and central. And so, again, they do have the powers to do what we're asking them to do. And he is also encouraged everyone to write to, in this instance, the director of TCD, to make the recommendation to see if they'll adjust what the officers do to assist in traffic flow. So thank you, caller.
I thank you very much. One other matter. I'm a former alcoholic. I would suggest that we should talk more about abstinence. We have a lot of liquor stores, bars, etc. around the island. More emphasis should be put on abstinence. I don't drink now, but haven't had a drink for 30-odd years.
Excellent.
I went to a club, some Cricket Club, not long ago, walked right in the bar. One time ago, I had to have a drink, but not now. So I think more people need to be encouraged to refrain from drinking.
Understood.
None of us are perfect, nor am I. But we can do it if we work on our habits.
Sure. But thank you, Cole. That's very impressive. Thank you very much.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. That would be contrary to Carter. He said to preach abstinence.
We definitely had an air of abstinence on the island.
Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. What's your question or comment?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
How's everybody this evening?
Fine, thanks.
Okay, what I'm going to make a comment about is the speed bumps around the island, especially those on the main road fare. As somebody who has driven in the States, and I'm sure some of you guys have also.
Sure.
When they do stuff like that, the signage is outstanding. What I've noticed in Bermuda is that there are speed bumps all over the place. Some has some sort of signage, not the greatest. Some has none. Some just has the little arrows on the ground. I don't know if that was ever officially put in the paper or what those arrows are supposed to mean and all that. I mean, a lot of us know now. Not recently, but some years ago, I've seen two tourists come off their bikes because they went over there because they didn't know what it was.
Sure.
All I'm going to say is that I think that the signage for the speed bumps needs to be more outstanding.
Yes. Thank you, Gordon.
That's all I got to say. I know that the job that you guys got to do is not easy, but I think it's a bad thing, man. Tourists come to Bermuda have to go back with road rash because there was speed bumps in the road that just were no proper signage. Take care.
Gotcha. Thank you, caller.
All right. Okay, bye-bye.
Man, the lines are still lighting up. I'm going to take these two calls and I'm going to come back about the cost of these accidents. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. What's your question or comment?
My comment is similar to the last. They should, one second.
Can you read it down, please? Hello?
They should have them rumble strips in front of the speed bumps.
So
that's what they're for.
To let you know, okay.
To let you know. And like the boy said, the fella said, proper signage.
Yeah.
It ain't no signage. And if you weren't there when they put them up, you got how to pay. Those things will make you pay.
Yes, sir. I had the experience. I agree. I got you.
Cool.
Thank you. Man, good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. What's your question or comment?
being more on speed bumps.
No, come on.
The rumble strips down there.
We got it.
They need to be taken away.
Yes.
Number one, they're disturbing the peace of the sleep of the graveyard there. I mentioned this before many times, even to people that's responsible for it.
All right, thank you.
Those rumble strips need to be taken away from there.
Thank you, caller.
And put a decent speed bump. If they could put a speed bump like they did in front of that gentleman's gate on Hurt and Sonwood, as you come down Neptune Hill and go into that left turn, there's a speed bump there. They can put the same speed bump at McGold's Hill, and they also need to put some speed bumps in by that gentleman's house on Harbor Road. We just had that accident. We're always having accidents. There's many people's been killed there on that dangerous corner by Lower Ferry, and then on the other corner, as you see him keeps crashing through the road, through the wall there. They need a speed bump there and in front of that gentleman's house. If they can go down Hurt and Son and put one down in front of that gentleman's house, they should be able to put one in front of that house where that gentleman, where people's being killed.
Gotcha. Thank you, caller.
Roads right there. Thank you very much.
Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. What's your question or comment?
Yes, one answer to and I don't, the dark helmet visor.
Yes.
One thing, one thing that could be done is to have on the back of the helmet the bike number. Whatever your registration number is, have it on the back of the helmet. And that way, you can look it up and find out who it is. That's one. And maybe the officer there can answer this one. And you all have noticed this. I noticed there are vehicles, bikes and cars, that have colored lights in front. Some are blue, some are red, some are green. So can they elaborate on the stipulation of that?
Actually illegal. They are illegal.
Right. Well, they're still out there.
Yes.
And if they're illegal, they should be pulled off. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to comment on that one?
Yeah, absolutely right. Should be only be 2 white lights to the front, 2 red lights to the rear. On a motorcycle or auxiliary cycle, 1 white light to the front, 1 red light to the rear. Underlights, wheel well lights. You could be ticketed for impersonation, emergency vehicle.
Wow.
Should be no other lights on your vehicle other than 2 white lights to the front and 2 red lights to the rear.
That's amazing because obviously we see them. People have lights on the wheel, on the rims under the car, all that kind of stuff. It looks pretty, I guess, to some, but wow. And some of it, I guess, also is people not realizing that what they're doing is illegal. Because a lot of times, I like it, I do it. Until somebody says you can't, I don't know. That is not legal. So, wow. Not quick comment. I want you to touch base on you. Obviously, as you said, how long have you been a police officer?
18 years.
Almost 20 years. And you've done what has been your experience? Like from obviously a regular cadet, not cadet, but an officer to where have you worked in police officer?
Policing, and then pretty much rooted out into the tactical division. So I've been road policing for a minute, done armed response for a minute as well.
Gotcha. What I wanted you to comment on is what has been your experience in terms of like what types of accidents take place. What I do, by the way, in my private life is part of my job is to be responsible for medical flights into Bermuda. And I don't think people realize the amount of flights that, first of all, the cost and how many times it happens. Because you get in an accident, something goes wrong, you have to fly a plane in to take you out. So I was wondering what your comment would be in terms of the variety or the severity of accidents that take place.
For severity of accidents, right now, the only number that's actually that the public would see is the fatalities. What the public don't see is probably triple the amount of serious accidents where people either lose limbs or become paralyzed or blind, etc. So that's a lot of accidents that people don't really understand the aftermath of these accidents. And that could lead on to a whole line of depression afterwards if persons either say they lose a leg and their career was,
football,
an athlete, that causes so much domino effects, and then not only that, it just affects you, but it also affects your family members, because now your family members or your significant other is going to have to take time out of their lives to assist you, and it's just when you really look at that picture, it's just persons' likelihoods that get affected as well, just not your own.
Yeah, and I wasn't thinking about that, but you're right in terms of none of us can imagine the depression or the personal feeling, I guess, that goes around the fact that if you used to be active doing what I got to get done, and suddenly guess what? Either lost a limb, like you said. By the way, how often would you suggest people lose limbs from accidents? I wasn't even aware of that.
It happens more than you actually think. Some people have some serious injuries, such as skin grafts and whatnot. The accident happened just outside of Whitney on Friday or Thursday.
Recently?
Yeah, it's the one that made it to the newspaper. That one was a serious person who was complaining about, went into King Edward with serious back injury.
Whoa.
So, like, those things you don't really see. You don't just say, you just see those as an injury. Somebody got a little bit of road rash. No, but the bigger side is it affects so many people. And there's not only that, but then it also affects the other parties involved. They don't have access to their vehicle. Their vehicle, they might have been used to take their significant other or their parent to get dialysis to the hospital. So they don't realize the bigger picture, the domino effects that when these accidents happen and the outcomes that could be. It's just not always cool. Just get another bike or another vehicle. Some people can't afford it. Then you have the insurance companies going after it, and then let it be a work vehicle. Sometimes that's people's livelihoods. That might be a taxi driver's livelihood. That might be a commercial vehicle's livelihood, where people start losing business.
Wow.
Okay. And then one of the things that we complain about a lot is the cost, the insurance costs, right? But all these accidents are causing the insurance costs to go up. I think it's the MIR, fund and all that. So all of these accidents cost those things to go up. So you think about, the cost of the vehicle, the cost of, them being in the hospital. To your point, if you have the air ambulance, someone else, the cost of that, all of these things have a ripple effect, so it spikes costs up for everything. So we talk about why insurance is so high, because there's a lot of accidents. There's a lot of things that bring these costs so high. So we gotta think about that as well.
Sure. Okay. Take this call and then we'll start to wrap up. Yes. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. Thank you for your patience. What's your question?
Yes. Good evening. Good evening, gentlemen. One of my big concerns is the bright lights on the highway. I mean, I'm seeing wolves knocked down on straight roads, and wondering if this result of bright lights. Well, I have an experience where I just can't see.
Yes.
So, what could be done about bright light driving?
Okay,
I'll listen over here. Thank you.
Sure, Officer Smith. That's a good point, because I have to sometimes come to a stop because I can't see.
So, as I stated earlier, vehicles have advanced over the years. So we've got so many different light bulbs. We start off with our horse and carriage, candles, right? And now we've gone halogen bulbs, LED, and the lights just get brighter. What a lot of people do complain about is people when they have their fog lights on. Bermuda's not meant to have fog lights on their vehicles, so you could actually be ticketed for that.
Yeah?
Yes, correct. The white light should be a certain amount of, I believe it's just over a foot off the ground. Anything after that is now shining on the oncoming vehicle. So, yes, that's just to do with, unfortunately, technology. TCD could speak more to it and how many lumens, quote unquote, which is the brightness of the light, should be allowed on your vehicle.
That's amazing, actually, because some cars, like you said, now they come with fog lights as part of it. Actually, my car is like that. Fog lights come on automatically all the time. So I have to go and get that changed.
Just to comment on that, as well as when your car is inspected, and TCD, when a new car comes in, of course TCD does a fresh check, right? But now TCD has just, I think in the last 2 months, have gotten updated equipment, so they will actually be able to test the lumens, the amount of lumens is on the on your car, so that if it's too high, they'll tell you, they'll fill your car and have to be adjusted. So they can test that now, and they are testing it. That's why people also notice that testing is a little bit longer because so then probably in the last 2 months, TC put out a thing saying that make sure you make an appointment because the equipment that they have now, the technology they have to test cars now, are testing everything, and it's not just someone looking at it. It's actually technology that's testing a vehicle for you, and that's one of the pieces that they're testing the lights, so they'll be able to make sure that it's at the right level.
And that's going to be unfortunate because that's what we talked about earlier, in that a car comes in, it's a car from the manufacturer, and they should not be allowed to be in if they violate the TCD requirements. So it's going to be horrible if these new cars, if the lights on the new cars are actually too bright.
Well, the manufacturers, but the car people, they can adjust them. They have the ability to adjust the amount of lumens on it.
Okay, good. That's going to be good for Bermuda then.
Yeah, any vehicle that gets bought in Bermuda has to be approved by TCD per se.
Right.
We had experiences with tint, for example, because some vehicles came already tinted, but it actually wasn't tint on the vehicle; it was the dye of the actual glass. So the car that TCD actually examined prior to that, before they proved that make and model of the vehicle coming in, was actually a lower. So that was actually put onto the vendor that bought that vehicle in, that to replace all the glass on the vehicles. So TCD does do their due diligence before they say yes. It's just not like Bermuda Motors or Auto Solutions just brings in any car. They have to bring in a car and it has to get approved by TCD prior to them bringing them in bulk.
Gotcha. Okay. Good evening, caller. Thank you for your patience. What's your question or comment?
Good evening. I'm surprised you guys are not talking about the auto lighting.
He just talked about that.
That seems to be the main problem. Not how bright the lights are, but the fact that people are driving with the auto lighting on, then they can actually operate their lights manually.
Gotcha.
So if the auto light, when they're coming up the crest of a hill,
yes,
the auto light would appear your cars have the high beams on, because the car will only turn the high beam off when it detects you. So if people drove with the manual lighting instead of the auto light, you won't have as much problem.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. No problem.
Actually, that comment has come up quite a bit in the past, right? And I guess the question is it factual? And if it is, why wouldn't we mandate for the dealers to set the cars to manual rather than automatic? Because that's a huge problem.
I think that it's more of a preference. I think I actually like auto lighting. Prefer auto lighting, personally. But I think it's just one of those pieces. Now, I do understand the factors when you actually get to the crest of a hill. I do get that. Didn't even think about that before. But the point of the auto lighting is to reduce when they see cars or when you come in there on it. So some
with some bit.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, the last two calls, then we're going to wrap it up because now it's going beyond time. Oh, my dear. Good evening, caller. What's your question or comment? But please be concise.
Okay, I got a comment concerning the lighting. I think one of the problems is, the lights are bright, okay? And also, they are unusually light because, the lights that we usually have off the regular incandescent light is kind of yellowish. And what we have now is cars that have ultra white. And in my thinking, I think ultra white could be even bad for your eyes because I've seen even during the day somebody have the lights on and blind me.
Yes,
even during the day.
Yes.
But one of the things I think that really needs to happen is those lights need to be dipped so they're down more on the road than straight ahead. Now, if you're in the States and you're on a big road or something, you want to see like 100 feet ahead of you something. That's okay, but that's not the situation here in Bermuda. As bright as those lights are, if they could be dipped down more, then it wouldn't be shining directly in people's eyes. The only other thing that could happen, which I know is not going to happen, I could do it if they needed me to, is to put a dimmer on it. I know that that's probably not going to happen. So the next easiest thing is, with these cars that have these ultra-white lights, remember I said ultra-white is not even natural, is to dip the lights, okay?
Yes, thank you. That does make sense.
All right, take care. Have a good evening.
Right. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Inside. What's your question or comment?
My comment goes out to the police commissioner. I think he's doing a wonderful job out there. I know he has a lot on his plate from what I see in the newspaper that he's trying to handle and keeping the general public feeling comfortable, concerns of what's going on. And I think he's doing a great job, and I just thought I would mention that from keeping up with his comments in the paper. And I'd like for that officer to pass it on to the commissioner, and I think it's doing a great job. And
thank you, caller.
And the public's behind it. Thank you very much.
Appreciate that.
No problem. Thank you. I'll pass the message on.
All right. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Inside. What's your question or comment? Real fast.
Yes, real fast. The junior cup match team won. St. George's won, and look out on next week. Now, since I won't be able to talk to you before next week, I just want to ask a question.
Sure.
The smoking of marijuana at cup match, is that something that is frowned upon, or the people are they free to do that?
Well,
if so, I don't think it should be allowed because everybody don't smoke, and some people are offended by it, and if they're in cup match, they pay just as much as the person that is smoking.
Okay.
What's your comment on that?
That's a good question to end it. So, Officer Smith, you talked about you're the tactical commander. Right now you're acting.
No, tactical commander today in a cup match. It's going to be a different commander. But I'll touch base on it.
Just a real question. In terms of it's cup match or any other event, and there's, 2,000 people there, for example, and in one corner somebody's smoking Arab, like, a group of 50, for example. As best you can, what's the thought process? Because if you start arresting one, this can be a big fight. What can you say to us publicly in terms of the degree of tolerance in those situations?
Well, smoking marijuana or cannabis is illegal in Bermuda. Yes. It is decriminalized to possess it. Once you intend to use it, then it becomes an offense. So you could be arrested under the Misuse of Drugs Act.
Yes.
So I tell people all the time, the only thing that you could do really now with marijuana is use it as potpourri. That's it. As soon as you roll it into a homemade cigarette, it's illegal. As soon as you put it into a pipe, it's illegal. Any type of residue, let it be the oils, let it be the quote-unquote shatter, it all becomes illegal. So with that said, you can be stopped and searched underneath the Misuse of Drugs Act and summoned before the court.
But I mean, but being practical now, I don't know if you can answer this question, but being practical, if I'm smoking at cup match, you're not going to arrest me.
Like I said, cup match is a public event. Persons will be searched at the gate prior to them coming in, and the grounds, the president of Somerset Cricket Club has a right to discharge you from the grounds. Okay. So they want to take that stand. So police will greatly assist the security staff of escorting them off the premise, as well as potentially summons them to court for a court date for being in possession of a controlled drug.
Wow. Okay. And so Officer Smith has given his Officer Smith response, of course. But I remember, like, from way back, at first, like, going football games, for example, first was nice and quote unquote clean, and then gradually there's the area, and at some point in time, I guess, whether it be cultural or otherwise, it's practical. Like, if you're going to intervene and cause a big disturbance, not cause a big result in a big disturbance, it makes sense. You know what? Listen, not right now. Take a note and get me later, I suppose. But I think, as Mr. Roberts said earlier, we don't always have the police don't always have to intervene. We should act, of our own accordance to do what we know is right. And certainly if you know there's going to be children there, it's a public event, and you're being a nuisance to others, let's not be selfish, and let's all gather together in terms of having a sensible, a safe, family celebration time, but be responsible. So we are past that time. I'll give you each an opportunity to give a closing comment, and then I'll give a final comment, and then happy cup match. Carter goes first. Responsible alcohol use. Contradiction.
Good evening, everyone. What was that, Heeman?
Oh, my Lord, have mercy.
Exactly. Always bus cab a designated driver. If you're going to go out this weekend to have a good time, please make plans to get home safely. On the first day of Cup Match, Carter will be conducting, in conjunction with the Bermuda Road Safety Council, our karting station at the Horseshoe Bay Beach.
Hey, what's it?
Karting station. That's when people bring alcohol to the beach to consume. We cart them to make sure they're old enough to drink.
Wow. As an enforcement activity?
It's a prevention activity.
I'm sorry. So
this is what happens.
I am 16 years old.
You're 16 years old. You show up at the beach.
Right.
You ask them for their age and ID, and if they say they're 16, we just don't give them a ban. We let them go free. If you're over 18, which would be 2008, would be your date of birth, we give you a ban that says you're old enough to consume alcohol.
Wow. So I didn't know that. How long has that been taking place?
10 years. You obviously come to the beach.
Right. I mean,
clearly maybe not your kids either.
So, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically what happens is you give me an ID that certifies
I give you the certified that you're over 18.
How do you stop me from giving it to somebody who's 16?
There's reasonableness. But it's obviously a wristband and it's tight. If you take it off, you probably have to tear it or cut it to get it off. It's not something you can just slide off.
Okay, fair enough. Mr. Roberts?
Yeah, my comments are similar. Just be responsible. Road Safety Council's stance is change your mind, change behavior. So let's change your mind how you participate on the roads. the Road Safety Council, along with Ministry of Culture, have sponsored a ferry for the big cup match extravaganza at Snooker Park. So encouraging all there's going to be drinking on Wednesday night. I think it's Wednesday night. To you can get tickets or P-tickets to get a ferry. It's like $5 to get on the ferry. But is there a charge on the ferry? I'm not sure.
Right.
But we have made that available for people that will be attending the event. So the ferry, I think, is a round trip ferry that will go to Dockyard and go back into the city. So just trying to help people. Duck while we're good. Help people, not drink while driving. But drink responsibly and act responsibly on the road this week.
Just a question though for the ferry. So I go to Snooker Park. I'm under the influence. I catch a ferry back town. Then what?
You catch a rideshare or a taxi, but hitch, one of those things. But the whole point is to encourage people to plan ahead. Plan ahead, and if you know you're going to be out drinking, have some other means of transportation. Don't drive.
What time's your ferry back?
They can go to P-Tix at PM. And get all that information.
That's amazing. And I'm smiling because I don't know these things, right? But it's interesting that at least there is in the environment, whatever, right? That people are thinking about these things and trying their best to really minimize the potential for these.
And one of the things that we promote for promoters is having a transportation plan in place. So Epic Entertainment reached out to Road Safety Council as well as Carter and everybody else to see what we can put in place. And along with Culture and Transport, we was able to get a ferry. I think we did it last year as well. So encouraging all promoters, like when you have these events, try to put something in place for your attendees to have a safe way home.
Okay, again, that's refreshing and new. Officer Smith?
Yeah, just echoing the comments of Mr. Santucci and Mr. Roberts. Whether they be in the water as well or on the roads, don't excessively consume, especially if you're going to be piloting a vessel or operating a vehicle. And as well, on top, I ended off as finishing, just give way to emergency vehicles.
Yes, of course.
Just bring your vehicle to a stop. If there's a traffic diversion, just listen if it's fireman or a police officer redirecting traffic. Please don't give us a headache. But mainly, if you see an emergency vehicle coming towards you or whatnot, just stop. Let it be a fire truck, let it be an ambulance, let it be a police vehicle maybe coming to assist you or somebody that you know.
Gotcha. Well, I'll say on behalf of the entire guest this evening, thank you for coming. Been a good discussion, as you can tell, because many comments have come through, lots of phone calls and messages. I didn't check all my phone messages, by the way, so I apologize for that. And to Officer Smith, I will say also, remember you said you have 1 hour. And guess what? It's been an hour and a half.
No,
easy.
2.5.
2.5. Easy 2.5. But it does, like having these interviews, it does bring to life the life of a police officer. And as at least one person, I'm not sure if you know, but one person has given you lots of commendations in terms of the clarity of speech and certainly bringing different information. And for both Mr. Roberts and Mr. Santucci also, there's so much that goes on in Bermuda that I want to say behind the scenes, and we tend to complain too much without realizing or understanding with proper information. So I want to commend each of you for what you do beyond cut match into Christmas and otherwise, especially you in terms of it's every day. I cannot imagine the stress in terms of having to respond certainly to gun violence, and then there's an accident, then there's this and that and the other, and just almost like your day is what next. You know what I mean? And having to manage the various tasks. And so I do want to commend you and all other police officers. And to Bermuda, you have a choice to make. And I guess I'll take on the Carter thing in terms of whatever you're going to do, have a plan, which is I'm going to plan to go out, plan to get back, have a plan to get back. I was in Hamilton on Saturday, and someone was out buying clothes at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon to go to the event at night, which is fine. Just as you plan what you're going to wear, plan the end of the night as opposed to, or in comparison to the beginning of the night, because there is an end of night. And what we don't want to do for sure is have news on whether it be any day for that matter, whereby there's been a loss of life or an injury or just an accident or whatever the case may be because of someone's inattention or just being irresponsible. Let's make sure that everyone that's alive now is still alive come Monday morning and able to get back to work in a safe standard. If you're out early or late, as I always say, please wear a high visibility vest, a light or something to let us know that you're there, because you'll be surprised if you're out early or late. People sometimes just cannot see you. especially if you don't have any distinctive wear on. And so let's do our best, not always rely on the police. Let us each make our own decisions, our sensible decisions, to ensure that there's less of reliance on the police, and that when they are needed, they will be able to respond. And again, to Bermuda, good night. Have a good cup match. I'm obviously rooting for St. George's, for Captain Sinclair Smith. I commend him. I trust that he's able to get his team together and to give a spirited response, if not win the match. Because at the end of the day, I think the idea is to have a good match, because that's what it's all about. And on that note, to Bermuda, until next week, have a good evening.
Bermuda Live on YouTube. Subscribe now.